This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to a blustery afternoon here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. There is a beautiful impala ram walking in a field of Leonotus leonurus and some other unidentifiable form. My name is James Henry. On camera today is Owen. There we are. And, well, what a morning we had today. Let me tell you about it briefly as we drive along. Before I tell you about it, this first 45 minutes is, of course, dedicated to the kids. And that means that if you're between the ages of 0 and 18, you may send us a question to kidsquestions at wildearth.tv, kidsquestions at wildearth.tv, and we will answer those questions as long as they are reasonable. And then after that, it'll be open to everybody to ask us questions. This morning, on a hunch, we went to look at an area where we thought Tandy, the leopardess who Lauren saw last night, might have a den. And it turned out our hunch was correct. 2 little leopard cubs we found, Owen and I, this morning. We got a brief view of them. We didn't hang around for long because Tandy wasn't there. And so we have a leopard den on Djuma, which is so exciting. It's one of the most exciting things that can possibly happen. Now, I'm just going to tell you the rules about how we're going to view it. So, you know, if you wonder why we're not there now or why we aren't there permanently or how it's going to work, basically what's going to happen is that we, as WildEarth, will go in and check the den once per drive. And that will only be in the other car, so in Wendy, which is much quieter and much smaller and more maneuverable than this one. We'll go in and have a quick look, and if Tandy's there, then we'll hang around a bit. If the cubs are there on their own, we'll have a brief view and then leave. If nothing's going on, we'll just leave. So that's going to be the way it is. They are about 6 weeks old, 6 to 8 weeks old. I showed the footage to Tristan, who those of you who know Tristan will know that he's a bit of a leopard expert. He reckons he saw suckle marks on Tandy at least 6 weeks ago, so he thinks about 6 weeks. So I'm pretty sure that that's how old those cubs are. That means that they are mobile, they are able to climb trees, and they're able to get away from predators, and so they are much safer than the last group of cubs that we saw, which when we last managed to get a view of them, they were only about 3 or 4 weeks old. So it's very exciting times. It's still precarious times for them. The den area is very, very thick, so I don't know if we're going to get lucky and get nice views of them. I don't know. Lauren will go in later this afternoon, and she'll just have a quick look and see what's going on because she's driving the smaller car today. So that's the story with Tandy and the cubs. If you've got any questions about protocol around the den, please feel free to send those through. In the meantime, let's go across to Lauren, and I'm going to go and see if our stick-playing hippopotamus is there.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your live safari. We have a woodland kingfisher. A beautiful view of a woodland kingfisher. On this very, very hot sunny afternoon. It was a horrible morning, but the sun has popped out, so I am happy. And I am Lauren. The person behind the camera is Davy. And we are out and about today hoping to find you lots of wonderful animals today. Now, this woodland kingfisher is doing a very good job of actually staying very still for us. Sometimes they fly away, and unfortunately, they will disappear. I think we have about another 2-3 weeks, if that, left with these birds because they're migrants. They don't belong here, which they only... Oh. What are you doing? What it means by migratory bird is they come here, they come to feed and they come to breed. So the males are looking for the females and the females are looking for males. They want to mate with one another, so that's why they all arrive here for... Oh. Look at this one's tufty feathers on its tummy. So they all come here to meet one another. And the fact that there's so much food, there's so many insects around, that means that they can feed, they can stay strong, they can stay healthy during the mating. They need lots of energy because they're seeking one another. And to do this, they need to call. They have a very, very iconic call. You can hear them calling all day and all night. And it goes something like, cheep, chirrrr. Oh, I think he's responding. Respond. No, I obviously don't do a very good woodland kingfisher impression, but that's what they sound like, and you can hear them all day long advertising to one another. Davi, did I get a question there, or did I lose comms? Okay, no. And off we go. Just like that. My earpiece is not working, sorry. Annalise? Emily?
Africa's strangest creature.
Africa's strangest creature. Africa's strangest creature. I'm not sure I know how to answer that, Emily. It depends what you mean by strange. Strange looking? Strange behaviour? Africa's strangest creature. There's lots of bizarre looking animals out here, Emily. But I am really not sure. Am I allowed time to think about that one? You've really got me there, Emily. All creatures are strange if you do think about it. But I'm going to think about it. And hopefully I can come up with an answer for you, Emily. You've got me. Question number 1, and you've got me. Okay, I'm going to bumble on to see what else I can find. And we are going to send you across to James with the little bird's nest.
There is our Grebe's nest, which many of you will have seen before. There are 2 exposed eggies there. And the 2 exposed eggies are just part of the clutch. There are 4 in that clutch, and 2 of them were covered quickly by the mother or father while she was sitting on the nest. And she's now headed off into the water well, I suppose she was probably just a bit scared of us. One of them is very comfortable around us. The other is very nervous around us. So that's quite fun. No, Tesla, that's not generally how it works, unfortunately. Plain birds don't necessarily have pretty calls, and pretty birds don't necessarily have plain calls. Some birds have it all. Some birds have none. So, for example, the marabou stork is a very unattractive bird and also has a very unattractive call. Some plain birds have beautiful calls, like the sabota lark, for example. Looks like absolutely nothing, but has a beautiful, beautiful call. And then I'm trying to think of an opposite example. Well, the rufous... is it rufous? Yes, rufous-bellied heron has got a gorgeous selection of colours on its body, but it sounds like a tone-deaf chainsaw when it calls. So, some have it all, some have nothing. And we've got some hippo there, or a hippo, an hippo. That particular hippo likes to play with sticks, and we had an interesting email come through from a viewer worried that we needed to call a veterinarian because the hippo had a stick stuck in its mouth. Just let me assure you that the hippo does not have a stick stuck in its mouth. It is playing with sticks, and we therefore do not need to call a veterinarian to come and remove the stick from the hippo's mouth. And you've now got some Nyala. A Nyala bull and a Nyala cow. Or Nyala ewe. Now, I've heard Nyala females referred to by both names, both cow and ewe. But I suppose, strictly speaking, it should be ewe because they are less than 100 kilograms. I got shouted at the other day when I referred to a Nyala female as a cow. Well, not shouted at, more sort of gently berated in digital form. Beautiful afternoon, 26 degrees Celsius odd, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Lakshmi, all the way in India, wondering if we can perhaps see some flamingos. Lakshmi, I'm afraid here, we can't see any flamingos. I'm very sorry about that. Flamingos we don't get in this part of the world. We get them in South Africa, but normally where it's very salty and salt pans and that sort of thing. Otherwise, we don't see flamingos here, I'm afraid. So I'm afraid no flamingos today. We're just looking down into this, what should we call it, a riverbed, really. And there was a francolin shouting, and I thought maybe there was a predator. But I didn't see any predators down there. I can just hear the call of the black-headed oriole. And the greater blue-eared glossy starling. Leonie, you're wondering why the hippopotamus has got such large nostrils. Well, do you know the story of the big bad wolf or of Little Red Riding Hood, Leonie? If you don't, I hope that you will have it read to you before you go to bed this evening. The big bad wolf, when asked by Little Riding Hood why he has got such big nose, he says, all the better to smell you with, my dear. And therefore, if you see an animal with a big nose, you know that it uses it extensively for smelling, and in the case of the hippo, also for sucking in a lot of air, because they spend a lot of time, of course, underneath the water. Now, I'm sure many of you didn't realize you were learning biology when you read Red Riding Hood. Indeed, I think the author probably didn't know that they were teaching biology, but there it is. You can also hear the white-browed scrub robin. Right, well, I suppose we've probably milked this sighting for as much as we're going to get out of it. What I'm going to do is just reverse back off the damn wall here. I've just seen Lauren going down that way, so we'll go back this way and have a look-see what's happening down this road. Alrighty, let's go now up to the north. You haven't met Sean yet today. He's up 40 kilometers away at Ngala, and let's find out what delights he's going to show you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Special welcome to the kids. Now we are back at andBeyond Ngala with myself, Sean. We've got myself behind the camera and the elephants in front of the camera. Got a beautiful, beautiful herd here. A couple of young ones up on the bank. And this is literally the perfect place for them. Now the weather's changed a little bit. It keeps coming and going, coming and going. We get some sun, then we get a lot of shade and a bit more sun. But it's overall quite warm. So these elephants will come down here into the river where it is much, much cooler for them. You know, cold air sinks, and the river being quite a low point remains fairly cool. So these elephants coming along here, you can see very thick, lots of food on the side of the river. Look at that one. It has no tusks. That elephant. Doesn't look like they were broken off. You can't see. Oh, we got a question from Chatadni, who's 5 years old, living in India, and wants to know the difference between these elephants and the elephants that she sees back in India. So these are African elephants, and the ones that you see would be Indian elephants. I think the Indian elephant's slightly smaller. Also have a bit more of a pinkish color to them. Yeah, got a few more hairs. Well, they got, yeah. So you look at the babies here. To tell you, that little baby might still have a bit of hair on it. We zoom in on the forehead, you can see a little bit of hair, but your Indian elephants will have a lot more hair on them. You know, they're also adapted to different sort of environments. Ours are more sort of the savanna, grassland, trees, river type area, but the Indian elephants will be adapted to different habitats because you're obviously in India and we're here in Africa. Marcel's also telling me now that he thinks there's a difference between their teeth structure. Not sure what the difference would be, but yes, a difference in teeth, probably due to the food that they eat. Because they're eating different foods, they will obviously have adapted differently for that. Okay, so we got another question from Dorset in the UK, from Elsbeth. I think she was like, how loud is an elephant? So, I mean, they can actually be very, very quiet. Elsbeth, when they're walking, you'll be surprised how sneaky an elephant can actually be. So when they're not feeding, when they're just walking through an area like that, when they're walking through the grass, they very, very silent. For such big animals, they walk very quietly. When they're feeding, they do make a bit of noise because they're often breaking branches, breaking trees. So then they are quite noisy. Obviously, when they're trumpeting, they're quite noisy. Like this little one over here. Oh, still a young elephant. Maybe it's under 10 years old, I would say. And they will often try and trumpet and chase the car or flap at the car or any other animals actually, be it buffaloes, giraffes. They're just trying to figure their place out. And when they do that, Elsbeth, then they are quite noisy. When they're trumpeting and purposefully breaking things, then they do get very noisy. But you'll often find these elephants, you know, when they're walking through here, you know, not much disturbs an elephant. So they just walk through, they just feed and feed and feed, and they do it quietly. So Gabriel, who's 9 years old, this elephant in front of us, as I said, probably under 10 years. He wants to know the ages of the baby elephants. So this one here, I'd say under 10, maybe 8 or 9. If you look at the tusks, Gabriel, so look at this one. You can see it's got very small tusks. So the elephants, they start growing their tusks roughly at about 3 to 4.5 years old, when their tusks will start growing. So you can see he's growing his tusks a little bit more. If we reverse and have a look at the other baby that was in the screen earlier, Gabriel, you can see that one had no tusks. And so that baby, as I said, under 3.5 years old. Okay, this one here is just getting a little bit unrelaxed, but we're moving away, so it should calm down. Seems like that baby has gone behind the bush, Gabriel. What we'll do, me and Marcel will stay here, see if that baby comes out. In the meantime, we'll send you back to Djuma with Lauren.
We did have a butterfly. It's not always about the big things out here. Of course, elephants are very, very large, but it's nice to look at the small things too. And we have a spotted joker butterfly here, but it was very interesting. It was having an interaction with that beetle behind. This is a net-winged beetle, and the two of them, I'm not entirely sure what they were doing, to be honest with you, but they were interacting on some level, and it was fascinating. But clearly that interaction is over. That was another spotted joker. It's mating season. All the butterflies are essentially mating. at the moment, and that's their purpose when they're a butterfly, is to drink as much nectar as possible to get energy, but then also to mate as much as you can, to lay as many eggs as you can, to continue on your species. Sorry everyone, I'm a little bit distracted. I've got a moth in my car. I don't think this is where you want to be, Mr. Moth. Okay, I think he's gone. So yes, lay as many eggs as possible, produce as many offspring as possible. That's the purpose of a butterfly. They have 4 different phases to their life cycle. Eggs, caterpillar, the pupal stage, which is when it's in the chrysalis, and then the adult form, which is the butterfly. There's actually lots of butterflies around here. And just like I mentioned with the woodland kingfisher, once summer ends, all the butterflies will also disappear. They have such short lifespans, they really don't live for long. And sadly, winter will be very dry and very barren out here. There really won't be many insects to see. So we have to enjoy summer as long as it lasts. I think we only have a handful of weeks left, possibly less than that actually. 2 or 3 weeks left of summer, and winter will be here. So I want to try and enjoy the insects as much as I can. Did you see that bird, Davy? Can you get it from here? I don't quite know what it is. I just see a red head. Let's just... Oh, hello. Someone's very, very hot when they've got their beak open like that. I think this is a batis. When they've got their beak open like that, it generally means that they're too hot. This is essentially how birds cool down. They don't sweat. Sometimes they jump in pools, but generally they cool down by keeping their beak open, and we call this gular fluttering. Catherine, you are asking about butterflies. Now, I'm going to show you my manual, but please don't judge me because it's in very bad condition. And the reason it's in very bad condition is that the monkeys got a hold of it. And unfortunately, the monkeys decided to destroy my manual. And they also tore it apart and then pooped on it. So you can see there's so many different types of butterflies. I'm going to turn the page. There's even more butterflies, and then I'm going to swap the page. There is a lot of butterflies in South Africa. And this manual actually only lists the ones that are found in this area. There's a huge list at the back, and I've only managed to see an absolute handful of them, unfortunately. So we've got a lot of butterflies to find. So I actually don't know how many species. There's a lot of species of butterflies here. We're very, very lucky. I didn't come here initially interested in butterflies, but I started to learn a little bit more about them, and as I learned how cool they actually are, I'm fascinated by them. Really, really fascinated. They're incredible animals, incredible insects, and the reason they start off as a caterpillar and transform into a butterfly is to avoid competition. So what that means is the caterpillar feeds on something entirely different from what the butterfly feeds on. The caterpillar feeds on plant, normally the plant that it's actually born on, that it hatches from, and the butterfly drinks nectar. So that means the different phases of each species of butterfly doesn't compete with one another. So it means more food for them. It's a very smart life cycle. It's a very smart way to be, and that means that butterflies in general are really successful. Mika, age 5. Well, butterflies actually, the caterpillar forms a chrysalis. It's actually not a cocoon with butterflies, it's mostly a chrysalis. And it's made up of their exoskeleton. So most insects have their skeleton on the outside. Humans, our skeleton is on the inside. Thank goodness, or it'd be really creepy otherwise. And they shed their exoskeleton, and using silk, they make their own chrysalis. Oh. Almost drove into that butterfly on the ground. Sorry, my heart skipped a beat there. almost threw Dravi off as well for a butterfly. And in the chrysalis, they transform, they liquefy, they completely melt down into nothing. And then they reform using special cells into a butterfly. And when they're ready to move, they just start moving their body, and essentially that breaks them out of the chrysalis and they're ready to fly. But it takes them a little while before they can fly. They've got to generate some energy, get all their body parts ready, and then they're off as a butterfly. So we're bumbling north today to see what we can find, and as I head in that direction, we are going to send you guys back across to Sean with his elephants.
So we managed to get a different place to see these elephants. So it looks like now they're going to all come across the river. So a lot more than we expected at first. I thought there were just, a couple of them. Look at that big one there that's, and then can we see it throwing sand all over itself. Giving itself a little sand bath. So I'll throw the sand on like this, try and dislodge some of the flies that are flying over it. Maybe head towards a tree a little bit later, scrape against the tree, a little bit of type of exfoliation. Just get a bit of a clean. Now Gabriel is asking about the elephants and the ages. Now Gabriel, unfortunately, all the babies are on the other side of this sort of mini sand dune, so we can't see them. But I'm hoping they're going to come out further down there, where you can see all of these elephants starting to pop out. Actually a very big herd. I can count at least 13, and that's not including the babies that I can't see. So I'd say there's probably close on 17 or so elephants here. Got a question from a school. We got a question from Hadrian Park Primary School. They are wanting to know why elephants have tusks. Hadrian. So the elephant's tusks, so the males will use the tusks in terms of fighting. They will fight with them. Females will also use the tusks to defend calves. They will help scrape bark off a tree so they can eat, especially during the winter months that we're going into now. They will use their tusks as sort of tools to scrape off bark so they can eat the bark because there's no leaves. I'll see if we can find a tree like that so that I can show you exactly what and how they do it. But yeah, they'll use their tusks as tools. They're to fight, to feed, to break off branches, to defend themselves. The elephant in the back, go back left. Yes, so Hadrian Park Primary School, they use it as a tool while they have their tusks. You see that one was playing with a branch, he threw the branch on his head. So I'm hoping these elephants might actually dig in the river here. So, Abby, who's 8 years old from Michigan, wants to know how much one of those baby elephants weighs. So, Abby, when a baby elephant is born, as it's born, it probably weighs roughly 100 to 120 kilograms, which in the States would be maybe 200 to 240 pounds, I think. Yeah, around there. So they're very heavy. These ones in front of us, they are those two that you can see there. I'd say they're both over a year old, between a year and a half. And they now are probably weighing close on to maybe even 300 kilograms. So 600 pounds around there. You can see these elephants are actually digging now, like I was hoping. They're digging for water. So you see what they did. Look in front of us. We have this big sand dune over here. In the river, I don't know if you can see, but the river slants down to the right. So these elephants have gone down to the bottom of that dip to dig there. Because if you think about it, the water would naturally flow down underground to that area. So that's a great place to dig, because that's where all the water is going to pool up. If they dig over here, it's not going to be worth their while. And they know this. So the fact that the little one is actually going to the toilet in the water hole that her mother just dug, going to make that undrinkable. You see the mother's now walking away to go to a new little puddle that they're digging. So these guys are going to carry on digging here. So me and Marcel, we're going to sit here, we're going to watch them dig, spend some time here. In the meantime, we're going to send you back to James.
You think she'll be coming to us?
No, she's forgotten. That booking expression of yours is a Wanderloosie thing, huh?
Yes. That's where I first heard it.
I think we're live.
Are we live? Why do you think that?
We're live.
Oh, I'm sorry. My radios are obviously not working. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I've been reading an article quietly about the circle of life. But here we are with a hornbill. 2 hornbills. Yellow-billed hornbills. No idea if we're still live, so I shall just keep talking as though we are. I think we have an issue with our radios today, but never mind. I'm just getting a message on my telephone, probably telling me we're live. Yes, we are live. Good. So, yellow-billed hornbills, one of 4 hornbill species that we get here. And I think these guys are great because they habituate quickly. They get used to people and they quite like being around us. And what these chaps are doing, oh no, we're looking at the bottom one.
Yes.
They are preening. Now, preening means that they're just aligning all their feathers. I don't know how many of you know this, but every time an aeroplane flies, basically, a whole crew of people have to go and check that everything is in order, that every single bolt and everything like that is in order. And if there isn't, obviously the plane will fall out of the sky, and that would be tragic. Now, it's the same thing for a bird. When they fly during the course of the day, bits and pieces get worn and their wings get out of alignment and the barbs on the feathers get out of alignment, and so they have to fix those continuously throughout the day, because if there's a mistake while they're flying high in the sky, or if there's a little piece of the wing that doesn't work so well, they could get into trouble and they could plummet to the ground, and that would be a disaster. So they spend a lot of time preening their feathers. They put oil on them and they straighten them all out.
The top one.
And there's the one on the top. And you can see he's also holding his wings out to the sun. And that often also helps to kind of dry them out if it's been a wet day, or perhaps it's been a wet yesterday. And it also helps for the feathers to realign. Pretty, eh? Hello, Peter. You're 11 years old in Johannesburg and wondering about the most difficult part of my job as a game ranger. Well, strictly speaking, Peter, I'm not a game ranger. Strictly speaking, I'm a presenter or guide. A game ranger, strictly speaking, is somebody who looks after a game reserve like this. So they would maintain the roads and the fences, and they'd make sure that no poachers came into the area. And if an animal was injured, then they'd decide whether they'd call a vet or not call a vet. And they make all the decisions around wildlife. Now, I have been a ranger for some of my life, but right now I'm kind of a guide or presenter. And so the most difficult part of my job is finding difficult animals like leopard. Let's go down to that butterfly over there, and if you don't mind, the black and white one looks like a diadem. So finding animals is definitely the most difficult part of my job. Ooh, what a beautiful butterfly that is. Isn't it? Just gorgeous. Now, let me just check my butterfly app. And I'm pretty sure what we're looking at is a common diadem, and that is the male, as far as I am aware. They've got lots of different variations, but that looks like a male common diadem to me. Good. Now, my friend Sean is still sitting with his elephants, so let's go over to him and find out what they're doing.
Okay, so we've managed to watch now. You can see this elephant here in the middle of the screen has managed to dig a hole deep enough to get to water. So if you watch carefully, you can see she's spraying out some water there on the side. So now that water is obviously very sandy. So she's trying to get rid of that, trying to get some clean water that will filter up through the sand and be much more drinkable. And if you look very carefully, you can see she's actually on her knees while she's digging there. So that hole is obviously very deep. So the elephant will often go down onto their knees so they can reach the bottom of the hole. I mean, it's amazing the intelligence of these animals. Firstly, to know where to dig. And then they know, okay, I dig down here, I can get to water. They dig down. I mean, it's incredible. Good little baby at the top, right up on the back there. There's one of the younger ones. There it is. It was flapping its ears earlier. There's actually quite a few little ones there. Oh, look at that one. Oh, how adorable. It can't reach, so it has to lie down all the way like that to get to the bottom of the hole. Oh, look up on the back. Just look up on the back. You can see the ones lying down on its side. Oh, so Zoe, 7 years old, wants to know why the elephants are so wrinkly. So it's just the way their skin is. They got a lot of skin. It's very, very thick. It's very rough. And it's just how it is. They're just wrinkly animals. I'm sorry, just look at them playing.
Sorry, pull off.
Their skin is just wrinkly, Zoe. They just got lots of it. It's very, very thick. An elephant's skin sometimes 2-3 centimeters thick. And it's just a very rough skin. It's probably to help them when they're walking through all the thorn trees. They don't get hurt, don't get scratches, that sort of thing. Will they play like that? Look at those two playing up on the bank. And this is why I said this morning, I love watching elephants. Watching elephants is just incredible. It's hard not to be someone's favorite animal. Oh. Like these two little ones having a bit of a battle. Oh. He's running away. So those ones are young, as you said, not siblings. Very, very seldom will a mother give birth to 2 calves. It does happen, but it's very, 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 very rare. As these ones just born at the same time from 2 separate mothers, growing up together, playing. There's a third one further down the bank. See, it's amazing how playful they are. They've just been walking around forever, just feeding, drinking, playing. And this is the perfect weather for them. It's not too hot. They have the energy. Okay, so we got a question from Hong Kong, from Nathan, wanting to know why elephants are important. Oh, there are so many reasons why elephants are important, Nathan. Okay, so let's start with what we're looking at here. It's one of the reasons. You can see the elephants now dug these holes to get to the water for themselves, Nathan. So now during the winter months when most of the water holes are dry, there's nothing left for some of the other animals to drink, the elephants will come here and they will dig these holes. And they don't fill them up when they leave, they just leave. And it actually allows a lot of other animals, much smaller animals, to come and drink from these holes. Often you see a hole like this in the winter, you come back in the morning and you'll find tracks of honey badgers, jennets, civets that all come to this water to have a drink. Sometimes leopards, they will come and they will drink from here. So the elephants, in a way, they provide water for a lot of other animals, which is quite important. They also, some people view it as destructive, but, you know, elephants will push over trees. And when they push over the tree, exactly, as also, it's vegetation management. They push over a few trees that now, you know, it allows that tree falls over and it protects a section of ground. So the grass under that tree grows because nothing can eat it because there's a tree on top of it. And that grass grows really, really long. And then snakes, spiders, scorpions, ground birds, maybe even genets will go and make their homes inside of that longer grass because it's very well protected by the branches. Nothing can get there. So it's very safe for those sorts of animals. Also, if they push over a very big tree, the roots, when they come out the ground, might form little caves, little tunnels, little chambers, where the leopard cubs, like James found this morning, with the ones on the ground, the leopard cubs this morning could go and live and hide in one of those areas. And it also, pushing over a tree, provides a lot of food for smaller animals, something like a baby impala or the kudus, or some animals that can't reach the top of the tree during winter where there might still be leaves. As the tree falls over, they can now get to those leaves. Yeah, exactly. And when they're walking, they might pick up some seeds. They push over a tree, disperse its seeds. So they actually do a lot of maintenance, they do a lot for the environment when they're walking. Also, a herd of elephants like this can travel 30, 40, 50 kilometers in a day. They just walk, especially during the winter where there's not much food, there's not much water. They've got to travel these long distances between waterholes. And they can pick up a seed. We saw the one with the branch on its head. Maybe they throw a branch on their heads, walk with it, some seeds land on them. They walk 30 kilometers, and then the seeds blow off, and now, their seeds are in a new area. So they actually serve a very big importance. Elephants are incredible. They provide food for animals, they provide water for animals, they provide shelter for animals when they push over trees. They provide entertainment for us, like those two little babies playing around. That's a perfect question from Abby, who's 6 years old, living in Philadelphia. Wanted to know what ways the elephants use their trunks. So, you can look at this and see what these elephants are doing. Those ones there in the screen, drinking. So they use their trunks to drink with, Abby. So they will, firstly, what happened was the elephant used its foot to dig a hole. Then it used its trunk to make that hole a bit deeper. So it can use it as a tool to dig with. Once it got deep enough to get water, Abby, it used its trunk to drink the water. So it sucked the water up the trunk, then bend the trunk like that little baby's doing, and spray the water back into its mouth. So it drinks with the trunk, it digs with the trunk. It will use the trunk to grab food, wrap its trunk around a piece of grass or a bush or a branch, and rip it out, and then put it in its mouth. So it eats with it, it drinks with it, it breathes through the trunk, it will trumpet with the trunk, it will fight with the trunk. So they use their trunk for a wide variety of things. Pretty much anything the elephant needs to do, it can do it with its trunk. They will fight with it. Those two little babies are still fighting. But look at these ones drinking. Even the little one there, down on its knees, all the way down. Its trunk's very, very long. It's a very powerful tool. I think it's got something like 240 or 250 muscles in the trunk. 50,000. Are you sure?
40,000.
Okay, Marcel seems to think it's 40 or 50,000 muscles. But it's got a lot of muscles in the trunk. It's a very powerful tool. And the things that they can do with it are incredible. These ones manage, this is how they survive with their trunk. So Lutandu, who's 9 years old, we do not feed any of the animals. So I want to know, do the elephants get fed or do they just survive on the natural food that's around here? And all of the animals just survive on what nature provides them. We don't feed anybody. They just got to eat, be it the grass, the leaves, the fruits, the bark of a tree, whatever they can find. That's what they eat. So it's all natural. And elephants are lucky, they're bulk feeders. They can eat anything. They can eat grass, leaves, fruit, bark. So they they got a lot of options. They got a lot of option when it comes to food. So look at that one. You can see this one's still a little bit young. You can see it's lifting its head up, opening its ears. Just a warning, it was moving away from us. That's why we were fine where we were. We are ready to go just in case something does happen, but this is fine. But it has come to that time, kids, where sort of the kids' portion of the show is ending. Thank you very much for your questions. It was lovely to answer them, very interesting. You are more than welcome to obviously stay and keep watching, but we're now going to be taking questions from all of the viewers. I think we're going to stay here because the elephants are supplying us with a lot of entertainment. This one they just joined was obviously still up on the bank on the other side. But he might go to one of these other holes that the elephants have dug, one of the other elephants, or he might dig his own hole. I just want to see if we can turn a little bit, because it seems like there's a big elephant that is now lying down in the river. Okay, well, firstly, we can't turn, and the elephant stood up anyway. So that worked out for everybody. Can't get that far. Yeah, but you see what they did? They were feeding on the one bank that we saw. Then they came across, dug their water, had a drink. Now they're moving back up onto the other bank, carry on eating there. And they're going to do this the entire day. The entire day. Elephants are up and moving and eating close on 20 to 22 hours a day. So we've got a question from 4-year-old Michael, wanting to know what an elephant's trunk is made of. So Michael, I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm going to tell you it's muscles, mainly just muscles. Yeah, there will be a lot of nerves and vessels and things like that, but there's no bones in it. It's mainly just muscles. You know, look how the trunk, how agile it is. It's very dexterous. It moves around a lot. It bends, it turns, it picks up, it twists. It does a lot of things. So it's not inhibited by bones. So it's mainly muscles. And then I'd imagine a few ligaments, maybe some nerves, some blood vessels, things like that. But for a more scientific answer, I would Google it. That is the first time I've been asked that question, Michael. Thank you. I'm actually also going to Google it. So if you're patient and you wait 3 days till I'm back on, I will tell you. That's a very interesting question. I'm just amazed with what they can do with it. You know, you go to a place like Botswana, where they have water, and then you see these elephants swimming, and it's just a trunk up in the air like a snorkel. It's incredible stuff. But while we watch these elephants move up the bank, they're going to, as I said, carry on feeding, maybe head into some shade now that the sun has come out. We're going to leave them, and in the meantime, we send you across to James.
We have got a squirrel. It's gone, isn't it? No, there it is. I can just see it. A tree squirrel. I think that they are wonderful animals. Are we still in kids' show or are we a normal show? Normal show. Hello, everybody. Same audience, anyway. There's a gorgeous squirrel. Seems to have moved now. Has it moved? No, it's still there. I can just see it on the end of the tree. And I suppose the slightly distressing thing about this particular squirrel is that it's not shouting an alarm at a leopard nearby. But there it is with squirrels. At least they are relatively useful alarm givers when there is a leopard in the offing. So I think it must be quite nice being a squirrel. Hello, Rose, aged just 3 years old. Do you want to know if monkeys ever swim? Yes, have to, but they seldom swim by choice.
Break up on the mic, James.
Break up on my mic. Is that all right? Sorry about that, everybody. So monkeys will swim if they have to. If they have to get across a river or something like that, they'll swim. But you won't find them trying to swim on purpose. If that makes sense. Okay, apparently the microphone's not working. So let's go across to Lauren.
We have just checked Buffelshoek Dam and no luck. So I just wanted to get to my strangest animal. Emily, if you are still watching, I have thought of it. Never been asked that question before. But I think Africa's strangest animal is most likely the aardvark. This is it here. Sometimes they're called ant bears. But this gives the impression that they're bears or they're related to bears, and they're not at all. So this is the aardvark, and if Davy can just show you their claws, you can see straight away they're designed for digging. They're nocturnal. Apparently we do get them here, but I have never ever managed to see one. They've got long claws for digging. They'll stay inside burrows and termite mounds during the day, and then of course at night they'll come out when we don't get to see them. So I think if I had to choose the strangest looking animal, I would in fact choose the aardvark. There we go. And earlier on we had a redback shrike. Sorry, that was very naughty of me. I wasn't paying attention to my monitor. So I've slapped my own wrist. Do not use your own eyes. Use the monitor or your binos. It was not a batis, but they are very closely related in terms of birds. Okay, everyone, I am heading to the den. Now, James obviously found 2 little cubbies this morning. It was the most magical morning. It really was a great drive. And we now have answers. Patience always pays off. We finally have answers. I managed to see Tandy yesterday, but she's got such a saggy belly. This is her 7th litter. 7th. Not all her cubs have survived. She's had quite a sad story. I'll come to that later. But she has given birth to 7, oh, there's a crested barbet, 7 litters. And therefore she's got an extremely saggy tummy, and she has, oh, I can only hear my own voice in my ear. This is very strange. Hello, crested barbet. Oh, it stopped. I could hear my own voice. That was bizarre. Now I know how you all feel. The crested barbet is also known as the punk rocker of the bush. Look at the magnificent colours. Looks like something from the 70s. I'm going to a festival to rock out to some punk music. I have to say it's definitely not a... Well, I don't know much about punk music. But I love these birds. They're fascinating birds. Look, he's hunting. He's looking for insects on the ground. You see how birds tend to focus on one eye at a time. So they're able to look with one eye down at the ground to get a really exact, precise location of that juicy insect that they're hoping to fly down and pick up. They also have quite a unique call. I can't play it right now because the barbet's here, but maybe I can call it for you later. And not by my own voice, but from the app. Unfortunately, I can't give it any justice. It's very loud. It's very continuous. It's not musical at all. And it's almost like a trill, like a trrrr. That's probably the best that I can do it. If I had to describe it like anything, I would say it's like an alarm clock. Yes, one of those painful noises that you just cannot seem to get to stop unless you hit that snooze button. So sorry, crested barbet, but Davy and I are on a mission. We are heading to the den. Ellen, you're asking, do we have rules for how long we can see and watch an animal? Generally speaking, no. So birds, elephants, kudu and pa, hippos, no. But normally in a high-profile sighting, like when there's other vehicles that want to come in, it's not busy right now because of course there's no one here. But generally when it is busy, there's a 20. Normally it's 3 vehicles per sighting. So if we have a leopard and 3 vehicles are allowed to be with that leopard. But then other people will want to join, so they may of course say, can I join the lineup? And you will give them space 1, space 2, space 3, and after 20 minutes you leave and the other person comes. But in sightings like cubs, very sensitive sightings, it's limited to 1 vehicle, and you tend not to spend too much time there. Even at Ribbon's Den, there's rules that we do not stay with the cubs if they're out the den and there's no adults there. So we absolutely would not hang around. So apparently my signal's not too great. I'm heading to the den now, and you guys are heading across to James.
We're just going to have a quick squiz at ye olde dead wildebeeston here on the southern boundary. You haven't got my mic. How's it now? Nothing? Nothing at all? Nothing? Do you think it's died completely? Oh dear, I'm sorry about this, everybody. So we're going to have a look at ye olde wildebeest death spot where the lions were and see if there isn't maybe a scavenger here. I seriously doubt that there's going to be anything here. Ooh, nothing over here, but up at Ngala, Sean has had some more luck.
So indeed we do have something. Hiding there in the grass is a male leopard. So this is the leopard that we have not seen yet. And this is our current dominant male. So he is the father of all of the cubs that you have seen. So remember we saw those 3 leopards with myself, that female and her 2 cubs. He's the father. And Rowan found that Mokoti male. He's the father. So we just want to see where he is. So if Marcel scans up into the tree, there, that big tree, just on the left there, you can actually see there's a carcass. So some of the rangers found the carcass. There was no predator here though. And as we were coming to investigate, we saw the leopard there in the tree. So he climbed down the tree when we got here. So that's why I just want to see. He was, I think, a little bit uncomfortable, purely because they're not used to this whole camera equipment on the vehicle. And I don't know how he took to that. So we're just going to have a look here, see where he went. Ah, there he is. So there's a big leopard. Right. So this is, as I said, so this is the Toboti Tom. So now, he's the dominant guy here. His territory spans pretty much most of Ngala. He's got maybe 2 or 3, no, 4 females in his territory, and he's just over 8 years old. To be exact, he's about, if we work it out, almost 8 years and 2 months to the day. So quite an old leopard. You can see they're breathing quite heavily if you look back at his stomach. Now he's eaten quite a lot of that carcass. It's maybe 60% left that I can see. So he's been eating it for quite a while. Now it wasn't here this morning. I think someone did drive along this road this morning. So he probably caught it after the game drive this morning, feeding on it, because he's very, very close to the road. I don't know if you saw where we were driving, but that's the road. So this tree is maybe 4 meters from the road. But it's just wonderful. I think he was also a bit nervous in the tree earlier. There were some squirrels that were alarm calling, you know, giving away his position. He kept looking across the road to the other side. I don't see anything there yet. But there might be a hyena lying down in the shade, which is very lucky for this leopard that he took it up the tree. Now, as we said, because he's 8 years old, he's obviously very experienced. And he's done this many times in his life, so he knows best option, take the food up a tree. But a beautiful guy, very handsome looking leopard. Have a look at his right eye, so our left side. You can see there's quite a lot of black around the eye. So you can see that black around his eye. Now that is one of those unique features of this leopard. That's how we know who he is. We have a question from Brian wanting to know if the black dam cubs are still on Ngala. So for those of you who don't know, black dam was a female leopard here, a beautiful, fantastic, stunning female leopard. She unfortunately died last year, beginning of the year last year. But she had 2 cubs, two males. And yes, Brian, the Makoti male, the one that we have seen Rowan found it, and then we found it a couple days ago. So that is one of her cubs. That's one of the 2 brothers. We can now call him the Makoti male. His sibling, his brother, we think is probably left in Ngala. We don't see him at all, really. He was here for the first couple of months after the mother died, but I haven't seen him in 8, 9, 10 months. So I'm not sure where he's gone, Brian, but his brother is still here, yes.
Were they in the same litter?
Same litter, yeah, both the same age. He just moved off. So remember I was saying that this leopard now, so his birthday is on the 17th, which is today. That's how we know he's 8 years and 2 months old. It would seem that there are twins that also have a birthday today. And their names are, I'll tell you now. Remind me their names. Okay, so the twins whose birthday today, happy birthday to Lisa and Virgette, who are having their birthday today. So happy birthday to you too. You share this special day with this male leopard that we found. I think he came out probably for your birthday. Thought he would give you a present of himself. Hope you two are having a fantastic birthday. But it's so awesome for us. I mean, we were chatting about it, the rangers. We're chatting about it, how, hard it is to find the leopards and to track them down through the grass. They don't follow a straight path, things like that. So to get a situation like this, where there's a carcass in a tree close to the road with a relaxed male leopard, now he'll be here tonight. He'll probably be here tomorrow morning. There's enough food that he might even be here tomorrow night. And it's so fantastic to have one sort of right here like this. And such a beautiful guy as it is. A very interesting question from Camille, who's 7 years old, living in France. She says, why are the leopard's eyes so bright? And are they sort of fragile, affected by the sunlight? So, yes, I mean, leopards are nocturnal animals, Camille, so their eyes are adapted to sort of lower light conditions. They've got roans and cods in their eyes, cones and rods, and so they absorb a lot more sunlight, a lot more light in general. So that's why at night they have much better vision, because they can pick up a lot more of that moonlight. So during the day, a leopard's generally sleeping, they're generally in the shade, like you can see with this one. But their eyes are quite a light color. It's more like a light amber orangey color. And if they do catch the sunlight, they do almost glow. It's actually really, really beautiful. They do glow, but you'll see the leopard does spend, like us, most of the time trying to avoid looking into the sun. It is just not good to stare into the sun, be it us or the leopard. But he does have quite pale eyes. All leopards, I mean, their eyes will be that general amber color, except this one that we have that's got blue eyes. Stunning. But they'll all be this amberish color. Some will be lighter, some will be darker. It just depends. What we do, we're going to spend a while here watching him. I want to see if he climbs back up into the tree. You can see he's still very alert. He's looking around, he's listening. There's a lot of animals around here that are alarm calling at him. So it's drawing a lot of attention to him. So that's why he's being so alert. Something like a hyena comes, he knows his food's safe, but he might climb up the tree anyway. But what I was going for was that we'll come back here at night and see his eyes, see if they've changed, if they've gone a bit darker, or if it's the sun reflecting. So we'll come back and have a look at something like that. So if you stay tuned, we might get another perspective on your question. So you can see now that bird just took off. We're very quick to watch it. But you see sitting in the grass here. Me and myself are going to spend some time watching him here on the grass, see if he does do anything. If he does, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, we'll send you back across to James.
You know, Ngala, for some reason, is the only place that I've ever been that they refer to the leopards as toms, the males. So he's not the Tambuti, he's not called Tambuti Tom, he's called the Tambuti Tom. And I don't know why nowhere else does it, and I'm so glad Ngala still has that tradition where the males are called tomcats or tom leopards. I've never been anywhere else where they're not just called males. Isn't that great? The Tambuti Tom. I think it's so characterful. Here we are at a pond. I don't have a leopard, I've got a pond.
A lily.
And a lily. Fantastic. A lily in a pond. Now all we need is Kermit the Frog and Jemima Puddle Duck and Jeremy Fisher and I can't think of any others who like to live in ponds or around ponds. But further than that, I'm afraid there is very little going on in this particular pond. Oh, Tal, age 12. The best thing for you to do is to go to YouTube and type in Stoffel the honey badger. Now, I've no doubt that the clip there was set up in that they gave the honey badger the tools to do what he did. But go and watch a honey badger there and see how brilliant he is at problem solving. And we also had a honey badger skull when we had this magnificent little tent outside our camp. We used to keep skulls and things like that. And we had a honey badger skull. And the brain case is surprisingly large for an animal that size, much bigger than you'd expect it to be when you compare it with a civet or a genet. I think honey badgers are massively intelligent in terms of their problem-solving ability. But I guess that of the animals we see regularly here, I would say the elephants, given the way that they communicate with each other and the way they find water, would probably qualify as the most intelligent. I'm just trying to think of, and you know what, Tom? Was it Tom, or am I just thinking of Toms? I think the most intelligent thing I've seen an animal do is watching monkeys breaking into houses. They're really good at that. They understand how to get into houses. They understand where to go to steal what they want. A monkey got into our kitchen this morning. He knew exactly where the bananas were, walked straight to the banana box, took 3, walked out, and then carried on his day. So, probably the monkeys. But go and have a look at Stoffel the honey badger and see how brilliant he is at escaping. So, I mean, basically, for those of you who haven't seen it, he escapes from this enclosure again and again. They obviously give him the tools to do it, because if they took the tools out, he wouldn't be able to do it. But he figures out how to build himself a tower and come out. It's brilliant. Then they do that in the wild. They'll build a tiled. Oh, quickly across to Lauren.
We have Tandy's cubs. I can only see one. We're being very, very quiet. I'm just scanning around to make sure that Tandy's not here. And of course, if Tandy's not here, we'll leave. So this just might be a quick, short segment. Just to check in. We're allowed to check in on the den once a day. Everyone, this is my first leopard cub. My first ever leopard cub. Hello. You're so cute. Well done to James. It's all credit to James. His hard work paid off. It really, really paid off. Wow, this is amazing. This is so amazing. Just going into that little hole. little hidey-hole. We'll just wait till it goes inside, and then of course we will leave. There's no mother here. And just like that, it disappears. Davy, how do you feel right now? Okay, everyone, that's our sighting of the cubs for today. My first leopard cub. It's time for us to go now, so that was just a really short segment for us. I'm going to have to pull out really, really slowly, just so that I don't make too much noise and navigate out. My day is made. I'm glad I got to share that with you all. So as I move out of here very, very carefully and slowly, we are going to send you guys back across to Sean.
So we are still here with this leopard. He hasn't done much. He moved a little bit. He stood up, sort of turned, and then lay down again. We're just finding another patch of grass. So you can see the tree's quite big. It's providing a lot of shade on this side. So you might find, look how quickly he's breathing. I told you that it is quite hot here weather-wise. So you might find what he's doing is he'll lie down in a patch of grass. It's nice and cold. Then as he lies there, he warms it up with his general body heat, and that patch of grass and gets hot. So then he'll get up, he'll move a little bit, lie down again, in another cold patch. You'll constantly be moving like that from one cold patch to the other in an attempt to just try and cool down. Because now his body's using a lot of energy trying to digest. See how quickly he's panting. He's very, very full. His body's trying to digest. He's trying to keep cool at the same time. So it's using a lot of energy. It's making him very tired. So he'll try and naturally help himself as much as possible. And that would include, as I said, moving to colder patches of grass to try and cool his body off from the outside as well. But he's very alert. He's not nervous, but he's just very aware. Like you heard that bird flying across, behind us, and you saw him lift up his head, and he was watching that. And he's been doing that every time a bird flies, or the elephants that we were watching are not far behind us, down in the river when they trumpet or something like that. You see him lift up his head, and he has a look around. So he's got to be very, very conscious, especially with the carcass here. So KSS wants to know what the average life cycle of a leopard is. And I'm not sure if he means the average life cycle, the average lifespan of a leopard. But a male leopard like this, he will live for a male maybe 10 to 12 years. Sometimes they do get older, but that's an average. 10 to 12 years on average. You know, it's a tough life for leopards. They spend a lot of time by themselves. They're solitary animals. So they have to defend their territories by themselves. They have to hunt by themselves. So it's a very hard life for them, you know, as opposed to something like a lion, who also has a hard life for sure, but they can be in coalitions, they can be in groups of 2 or 3 or 4, 5, 6 males. So a male leopard, lifespan, 10, 12 years. The female can be slightly longer. They can live maybe 12, 13, even up to 14 years. It has been seen in the wild. But it is, yes, it is very environment dependent. You know, depending, you get many different types of leopards, but our ones here will live, maybe 10 to 12 years old, and then they generally just get too old, too tattered after that. You know, because the competition is tough. You know, he's 8 now. 2 years time, he's 10. He's very old. There's another leopard that's come in that's 7. That's much younger, much fresher, still got a lot of vitality left. And he can't fight against that. Even another year later, he's 11 and his competition's 7 or 8. It just becomes too much at a stage. And also they get injured. They got no one to hunt for them. So now they're not eating. So it takes them longer to recover. So it's hard. Good question from JB. Now, this leopard's lucky. He's got a kill. So JB wants to know how successful leopards are when they do hunt. So JB, in general, they are not very successful. Most predators, leopards, lions, cheetahs, their success rates in the 30s, mid-30s, let's say 35, 37% success rate on their hunts. So these animals, they have to hunt multiple times before they actually catch something. Now, a lot of people ask, how often does the leopard hunt? Or how often does the leopard eat? So, I mean, this guy, today is Friday. He might have started hunting on Wednesday already. He might have hunted Wednesday and just had 1 or 2 opportunities, missed them both. Thursday came. Maybe he only had 1 opportunity last night, didn't catch anything. And then this morning, he got his opportunity and he was successful. So they could hunt 5 or 6 times before they actually catch food. And that's what makes it very, very cool for us to be able to sit here and have a leopard with a carcass in a tree. The chances of actually watching a hunt are very, very low. And it's purely because the success rate being so low is because of how they hunt. So you think about lions, you think about leopards, you think about cheetahs. They stalk their prey. I mean, look how good his camouflage is in this grass. He's very, very well hidden in there. And he's not even trying to hide now. Now he's just lying there. He's trying to keep cool. So his camouflage is very good. But when he's stalking his food, JB, he has to get maybe less than 10 meters from his food. So that is very, very close, especially when you're hunting a herd of impala. So that one up in the tree there is a male, looks like quite an old male. He's got very long horns. So that male might have been with a bachelor herd, in which case there were maybe 10, 15 other males. So now you're trying to stalk a herd of impala, and now you got, let's say there's 10. Now you got 20 eyes, you got 20 ears, you got 10 different noses that are all designed to detect predators. So he's got a very tough time. It's not a surprise their success rate is so low. I tried to stalk a herd of impala once because I watched the leopard do it and it was bad. Like he got maybe 30 meters away and the impalas ran. So I was like, let me try. I think I was probably about 80 meters away before these impalas saw me and ran. So it is very hard. It is very, very hard. And it's really not surprising that these animals only have a 30% success rate. Or 35, 37% success rate. I mean, this is a good time of the year for them because there is a lot of grass, there are a lot of trees, there's a lot of bushes, which means there's a lot of cover for the leopards. For him to put this carcass in this tree here, on the road, I can't see any drag marks on the road, which would mean he most likely didn't drag this impala across the road. So he caught it somewhere around where this tree is. And you can see it's fairly thick here. There's a lot of places for him to hide. So this was just the perfect opportunity. He was probably lying in the shade here, and maybe impalas walked past. He waited, he crouched, he sat behind the bush, waited for that perfect moment that the impalas maybe walked towards the bush or were looking away from the bush, feeding, heads down. And then he ambushed, sprinted out, caught one, had a tree close by, took it up there. I've never seen a leopard hunt, like a successful leopard hunt. I've seen attempts, but never a successful one. I think that would be incredible. I don't know if any of you viewers have seen a successful leopard hunt, but I would love to. Lions are brutal. Leopards are like efficient. They're like ninjas in the bush. And then to see it carried up a tree. I mean, it's a bit hard now because the sun is behind the carcass, but as the sun sets, we hopefully get a better view of that carcass and you can see. Now this male here, the Tambori Tom, he's a big leopard. Probably weighs maybe 80 kilograms, maybe 85. So that would be 160, 170 pounds. It's the leopard. And that impala, being that sort of size male, was probably weighing maybe 50 to 60 kilograms. So 110, 120 pounds. And he carried that and himself up the tree. I mean, it's incredible. We'll have a look at the tree again later and you can see all of the branches and the shrubbery that is on the way up the tree. And the fact that he could navigate through all of that with an impala in his mouth that weighed more than half his body weight it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And that's why I think leopards are so much better for me than lions and hunting. We've got a question from Garth about andBeyond and Ngala, wanting to know if Ngala is generally open to the public for day visits. Now, Garth, no. So to come to Ngala, you have to spend a night. You can come for one night, you can come for 2 nights. We get some guests that come for 9 or 10 nights. But you have to spend the night here in order to go on a drive here, which is well worth it. I'd say definitely come and spend a night and go on the drives and see what you're seeing now live. It's crazy. But yeah, you have to come and stay here. We're not we're private. You have to spend the night here before you can go on the safaris. Oh, look, something piqued his interest because now it's getting much cooler. The sun's going down. It's getting a bit darker, which would mean we're starting to see a bit more activity from the leopard because it's cooling down, but also from things like hyenas. And now he will know that. This leopard, as we said, he's experienced, so he knows that hyenas are starting to get active, so he will become more aware, more conscious, looking around for that. And while we wait for that to happen, we're going to send you across to James, see what he's up to.
Well, the Tamboti Tom, even if he isn't active, I'm sure is a magnificent creature. We are driving along the eastern boundary now, just seeing if Tandy perhaps will come back from where she was in Torchwood apparently yesterday. She must have been back to the den and out again during the course of the day. We went down to the riverbed to the east of here, which is the Morwanini River. The river's a strong term. And you know, we can't drive north or south of the road, but we can drive on the road. And so we looked around there, didn't come up with anything. So we've just come back towards our eastern boundary and we're going north now. So that is our sort of general modus operandi at this stage. If you are enjoying our live safaris, and I hope many of you are, I hope you aren't watching it and not enjoying it, you can support us if you'd like to, using the hashtag, not the hashtag, by going to wildearth.tv/support. There's just a really nice view down there. That's wildearth.tv/support, and you can give us your support. These safaris, of course, are free to watch, but not so free to broadcast. You see the strange kind of fog down there, isn't it? Very odd. That's very unusual for this time of the day, I would have thought. And just to keep you posted, I did go back to the hyena den to see if Ribone had returned after her foraging exploits with her gang mates this morning, but I saw no evidence of any mother there. So I'm sure the cubs are waiting eagerly for her return, and we'll probably pop back there around sunset and see if we don't find Ribbon there with the cubs. Gosh, imagine 2 sets of cubs in one day. That'd be quite something, wouldn't it? Yeah, Kelly, it would be worth setting up a temporary camera at Ribbon's den. The thing about that is, apart from the technical difficulties of trying to get equipment in for lockdown, etc., in order to make you can see it, that, you know, a day's worth of data and then go through it, so 24 hours of footage, and then it would have to be, you'd have to have a broad from there, which would be tricky. You'd have to put a mast up there, which would be quite difficult. So sorry, we're having trouble. We're having trouble with the sound apparently. So it's not a bad idea. Would be quite difficult to do though. All right. it's all right now. Good. But nice idea. Same thing with Tandy's den. It'd be quite nice to put a camera there. Okay, apparently we might go to Lauren now. I'm not sure what's happening. You may end up with Lauren very shortly. You may stay with me.
And you are with us. I've gotten over my emotional moment. I know it sounds crazy, but seeing a leopard cub for the first time is very, and sharing it with all of you is very overwhelming. And of course, Davi's on the back too. And we all got to experience that together, and it's just magical. And of course, there was a red-billed hornbill, by the way. And of course, because it's Tandy's cub, I only got to see one, but it's Tandy's cubs. I've known that leopardess for a year and a half. Some of you have known her much longer. I actually had a message from one of you who kindly reached out to me and said that you saw Tandy when you visited this area way back when she was 2 years old. Wow, I can't imagine Tandy there. But of course, you get very attached to your leopards. And Tandy's actually had a very tough time. So this is her 7th litter. And in every litter except one, she's given birth to 2 cubs, twins, essentially. So that makes times 2, 14 minus 1, 13. 13 cubs. And really, the only surviving cubs of Tandy's are Tlalamba, who you've met. All of you know Tlalamba. Kuchava, who's much older. She also has a cub of her own now. Bahuti and Tamba. And of course, these 2 new cubs. So out of 13, there's only 6 cubs. And these Styx Pride, the Styx Pride were the dominant lion coalition here for a long, long time. And they've left now. They up sticks and left. And nobody really knows why. And they appear to be very nomadic. I actually looked at the Panthera report. They're still not showing signs of really being territorial or having an area that's as their own, really. And the Styx Pride killed a lot of Tandy's cubs. A lot. I think she lost 3 or 4 cubs to the Styx Pride. Some of them were older as well. So Tandy, as a 13-year-old leopardess, has survived and thrived out here. And these 2 little cubs are her 7th litter. Her first litter was in 2010. Late 2010. So Tandy's done very, very well. She's produced some mighty fine offspring. She's fierce. I think everyone got to see that last night. The Tandy smile is very fierce. It's not something you will forget quickly. But yes. Magical. Now, James estimated 6 weeks and under. So what that does mean that sooner or later they really will start bounding about. We'll see them really coming out towards the den. Of course, it'll be good that they become habituated to cars. I was actually trying to explain this last night when the storm hit us. Of course, there's a selfish point to it. We want the animals to be accustomed to vehicles because we want to see them. But that's actually not the main point. The main point is you don't want to cause an animal heart rate to rise and to get a fright or to fear a vehicle every time it sees one. That won't be good for the animal's biology or the animal's behavior or lifestyle. You don't want an animal to think, vehicle, heart rate rises, cortisol increases, stress, fight or flight. That's not a good way to live. So that's another reason we do want the animals to be accustomed to the vehicles so that they don't go into that state every time they see us. So hopefully we'll have some leopard cubs bounding around soon. Anyway, I think I'll be smiling all day. Amber, you're asking how often are baby leopards born? It depends, really. So Tandy had a litter late last year. And James is just up ahead. James and Tristan done a really good job of finding those cubs. And sadly, they didn't make it. They were very young and they didn't make it. Nobody knows what happened. So what that does, the loss of those cubs will cause Tandy to go back into estrus. And by her going back into estrus, she's able to mate again, Amber, and have cubs very, very soon after. The leopard gestation period is 3.5 months, 110 days. So if you sort of reverse back, I'm going to try and do the mathematics here. We're at mid-April, end of January. Tandy would have successfully mated in order to have this litter. But if she has successful offspring, like Tlalamba, she will wait until that individual reaches independence before she will start mating again. Kalamba was about 18 months before she was forced into independence. So it really depends on the situation as to how often they will produce cubs. If they lose cubs, they will go into estrus very, very quickly again. If they don't lose the cubs, then they will wait until their cubs have left, dispersed, or reached independence. Okay, James has gone that way, so I am going to tackle this way. It's still believed that Tandy's on a kill in the Mulwanini, but I don't know if anyone has actually seen Tandy there. There's definitely a kill. I believe it's hoisted in the drainage line, but I'm not 100% sure if they really know it's Tandy's or not. Unfortunately, it's on Torchwood, so we can't go there. But I think just hanging around the southern eastern corner is a really good idea. Okay, I'm going to check this corner thoroughly for any signs of my leopards, and as I do that, we are going to send you back across to Sean.
So you can see our leopard has gone to sleep. So he fell asleep maybe about 6 minutes ago. He fell asleep and he looks quite comfortable here. Every now and then he lifts up his head, but he's mainly sleeping. So what we're actually going to do, we're actually going to leave him for now. Some of the tracking teams found another carcass. Not in a tree, this one's on the ground. Also an impala. So I want to go and investigate there. They didn't see any predators, but now that the weather's cooling down, I want to see if something has maybe come out around that carcass just to see what's happening. So we're going to leave him. We're going to let him rest here, let him sleep. We'll come back again later on. I just want to go and investigate on the other side, see what's happening there, if anything at all. It might have been stashed, or it might have died naturally. Maybe a snake bite, maybe a fight. Not sure. I haven't been there, I haven't seen it. So let's go down there, have a look. It's turned out to be quite an afternoon. The tracking teams have done extremely well finding that carcass, finding this carcass. They heard the elephants. So the guys have been on form this afternoon. I'm very interested to see what's happening over here. But while we make our way there, it's a bit of a drive, so we're going to go there. In the meantime, sounds like James has an animal that's alive.
A living animal, in fact, two living animals, a great teeming exuberance of life walking away from us. Two young Nyala bulls. And the call of a couple of francolins. Doves, of course. And flies. An unusual number of blood-sucking flies this year that have sucked a fair amount out of my body. I've killed a fair amount of them too. Not that one. I do love the way these animals move. They move in sort of slow motion dressage, and it's as if they're in a constant need to display to, I suppose, each other, because that's how they do display to each other, with this slow, ridiculous walk, and obviously to the ladies. And then, if you really want to up a level on the dressage stakes with antelope, you have to look at a hartebeest. Now, a hartebeest achieves remarkable dressage-esque gaits and maneuvers when they're displaying to each other, or just, in fact, moving. Fortunately, you don't get them here, but they really are impressive to watch. So those are the two champions of dressage in the wilderness, the Nyala and the hartebeest, because I'm sure that all of you were wondering about which the best dressage animal in the wilderness was. And now, that question has been answered for you. They have gone, have they not, Owen? Oh, well, it is sad. We shall continue along this road into the setting sun. I must say, I think that the fact that we've seen those cubs now twice in 2 drives is extremely encouraging, because I'm pretty sure that the first time they've ever seen a vehicle was today. And the fact that they have not hidden, you know, they've come out and they've looked a bit, is really encouraging. Sometimes if you see cubs for the first time, they just whoop, disappear and becomes impossible. Hello, Nikki, age 14. You say, why did I want to become a guide? And P.S., I'm your favorite. I'm not going to look at the camera now because I've got a bright shade of beetroot red. Thank you, Nikki. Nikki, I wanted to become a guide because I think I actually have gone red. I wanted to become a guide because I wanted to live in a beautiful place. That was the sole reason that I wanted to come out into the bush. I knew nothing about birds or trees, very little about mammals. When I came out here, I just knew that I couldn't live in a city on a permanent basis and enjoy it. And that's why I started guiding. And obviously once I'd started, all of the trees and the birds and the mammals and everything else about the biology of the area began to interest me hugely. And so that's why I became a guide. And now I get to watch the sunrise and the sunset every single day. And that is a very rare privilege extended to few. So that's why, Nikki. And for me, my favorite part of being out here is learning or seeing in practice many of the interesting biological theories that I've read about. So I'm not very good at identifying individual hyenas, pretty hopeless at identifying individual leopards too. But I really enjoy, for me, the watching biological phenomena that I've read about taking place and then seeing how different they are, and watching the evolutionary adaptations that creatures have and trying to decipher whether they are in fact adaptations or if they're just sort of accidents, etc., etc. Thank you for that question, and thank you for your kind compliment. I shall attempt not to blush any further. Chase, yes, we've seen hundreds and hundreds of interspecies interactions. I think the most exciting ones there's a brown snake eagle. You see it there, Ern? It's a little bit tricky for you, but it's quite a nice shot of him sitting on this tree. Chase, we've seen lots of interactions between lions and hyenas. Those have been fascinating. Wild dogs and hyenas, often it's predators, you know, competing with each other that are so interesting. I watched an elephant chase a rhino the other day, a young elephant bull, and he had a go at a rhino, and the rhino had a go at him. There was no physical contact, thankfully, because it could have been nasty for both of them. So that was very interesting. I think the most interesting one I've ever heard of, though, was a single wild dog female who joined a little pack of jackals up at Mombo in Botswana. And there's a lot of video footage on the internet about it if you want to look. Just an astonishing arrangement where at one stage, in fact, there was a hyena, a wild dog, and the jackals living together. The jackals and the wild dog would hunt, and the jackals and hyena would then scavenge, basically, I suppose, off the kill. But they lived in relative harmony for quite some time, and I don't know how that story ended, but it's really very interesting. But you get lots of interesting species interactions, and of course species talk to each other all day, and they do that through the form of alarm calls. Many different species understand the alarm calls of other species. So if a squirrel starts alarm calling, you'll immediately find that an antelope will look to see if there's something there. And if a mongoose alarm calls, same thing. Hornbills will look around and see what's going on. So it's really quite nice that the I find it encouraging that there is this interspecific communication. I don't know why I find that comforting, but I guess it's because I find the connection of living things to be so comforting. Make sense? Lovely starlings there with the beautiful brown snake eagle sitting with a couple of starlings. Adele, you say you're blind and you're enjoying the safaris because we're explaining things well. Well, I'm so glad that you are deriving some pleasure from these drives, and I hope you're also, with your no doubt extremely acute hearing, I hope you're enjoying the sounds of the bush. I shall be quiet in honor of you for 20 seconds. So what you can hear is the spot batis is going tip, 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 tip. Probably the brown snake eagle. Okay, apparently up to Lauren. I'm not moving at all. How's it now? 1, 2, 1, 2.
We have some female kudu. Let me just roll forward, Davy. I think... Oh, it's popping out, Let's try and roll. Sometimes if you don't put your engine on, we're on a slope. Oh, there's another one, Davy. They're not fully grown, actually. The females get a little bit bigger than this. But aren't they just magnificent with that big hump on the back? Oh, there's... Oh, Davy, a baby. Oh, a youngster. Another youngster. Slightly older, though. But still young. Look at those long legs. They don't look like they fit the body. Isn't this cute? And we've not got our engine on. This works in our favour. Kudus, when they've got young, can actually be quite skittish. So I'm just going to... Oh, there's a male. Isn't he magnificent? Hello, boy. You are so handsome. You have an oxpecker on your tummy. Hope that oxpecker's careful and doesn't go to the wrong place. That could be rather painful. For the kudu, I mean. Wow. What a magnificent looking animal. Let's try and roll again, Davy, and see if we can. I quite like rolling without turning the engine on. Now the signal can be really tricky here, so I'm hoping it's... You happy here? This is such a lovely herd. It's a mixed male, the main man, and then of course you've got females and youngsters, most likely mothers. I think out of all the antelope we get here, anyway, The kudu has the most magnificent horns. See, Wang, I think what you're trying to ask is, do they intentionally leave the reserve? Yes, a lot of animals can. The overall area is fenced, so in order for us to Sabi Sands, it's fenced. I think we'll get a nice view from here, Davi. What do you think? And we actually have to sign in, we have to register, we have to give our fingerprint in order to get access to the Sabi Sands. But Djuma Game Reserve is bordered by Arathusa, Little Gowrie, Chitwa, Bufosuk, Torchwood, and the animals can move at free will. There's no fences sort of barricading or preventing them from moving throughout the Sabi Sands. We're in the northern sector, but the animals can absolutely move and new animals can come in. Elephants are a great example. They are really mobile animals. They move from water point to water point. They're not migrating animals, but they move great distances, seasonally, of course. And they will move from the southern end to the northern end. They'll go east, but of course they won't leave the area. They won't escape the fence. And the reason this area is fenced is, of course, to protect the animals from traffic and from possibly direct conflict with humans, and it's also to protect the humans. There's lots of civilizations and villages nearby, and it's really, really important that we protect them from the animals, especially the predators as well. Human-wildlife conflict is a huge issue all around the world, and that's why it's better to A, keep the animals safe, give them enough space, and keep the people safe as well. I hope that's what you meant, Sea Wing. CJ, I have no idea. A kudu male weighs about 250 kilograms, which would be over 500 pounds, and a female weighs around 170 kilograms, which will probably be close to 400 pounds. So the males are much bigger, but as for the horns, I really don't know. The horns are made from bone, so they grow out from the skull. They're made from bone and they're covered in layers of keratin. So they're incredibly strong. If they break, they will never grow back. So they're attached to the skull. I've picked up a kudu skull before, many a time, and it's heavy. It requires a lot of muscle, which, well, I don't really have a lot of, but it does require some muscle here. And I don't actually know how much they weigh. The females, of course, don't have horns. It's just the males, and they grow throughout the lifespan, and they spiral. And you can actually gauge the age of a kudu by the size of the horns. Now, I was hoping to check this area, but I think we're going to lose signal. This is where the kill was, but it was much further in. And I just wanted to check to see if we could see any signs of leopards. So as I quickly check and go through this dip, we are going to send you guys with Sean.
Okay, so we are now in the area where they had this other carcass. So the other carcass was on the ground. So it was around here somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but we're looking under and in the trees. So they say it was stashed, is what we would call it. If it's stashed, it's hidden under the trees. So let's say it was a leopard, but let's say it's a female or a young male leopard that doesn't have the strength to carry the food up the tree. And they're very tired from hunting. Then they'll stash it under a bush, collect their energy, sort of relax a bit, and then take it up a tree a little bit later, or even eat a bit of it on the ground to make the carcass lighter, and then take it up a tree. So we are just having a look around here to see if we can find it. Now I think, you see, there's lots of options here, lots of big trees which would be perfect for leopard to take its food up. You know, you saw the tree that Tambori, the other leopard, had his food in. Big tree, nice branches, thick branches, wide branches, good places to sort of hang your carcass, balance your carcass like that. And there's lots of options for the leopard around here. It's a great place for him to have hunted, to have caught food. But now we just need to find where that is. I can smell it. I can smell it. But I can't see. If you just give me 1 second, I need to talk on the radio. Okay, so we've got a question about how much fuel we use every day. I'm not actually sure. Hey, this car has 2 tanks. I think it takes about 80 or 90 liters per tank, and we will fill it up maybe once a week. We will fill it up. So now we just started on our sub tank. We got 3/4 of a tank left, and we last filled up quite a while ago. So a tank will last us about 2 tanks will last us about a week, 10 days, depending on how far you're actually driving. We cover maybe between, not far, 10, 15 kilometers up to 20 or 30 if you're driving around the whole property. So we don't actually use that much fuel. Around, you copy? I'm just trying to ask the people that found the carcass exactly where. I found the apple leaf, and then I'm at the bank, and there's another apple leaf right at the bank with a bush willow on the eastern side of it, around there.
Yeah, so the apple leaf really has a canopy. There's no branches coming out of that apple leaf, and you go straight north from the branch towards that apple leaf.
Yeah.
And just on the eastern side, there's a russet bush willow. Quite thick. Not tall, or she will stash it up to the bush willow.
There's the carcass.
Underneath that.
Okay, so you can see it's hidden quite well inside there. Your A-frame just located, thanks man. So I don't know if you can see through there, you can see it through the branches there. So very, very well hidden here. Under this tree, this is a bush willow tree, and very well hidden under here. You can see it's a very thick tree, and as you noticed on our way in here, there were no vultures. They can't see the carcass. Vultures hunt by sight. They can't see it under the canopy of this tree, which is most likely why she put it under this tree. It's also, you can see around it's very, very thick, so the smell of this carcass is not traveling very far. If the wind blows, it swirls around on all the little bushes, all the little leaves, which means the scent doesn't travel far for things like hyenas to pick up, or maybe other leopards, or whatever could be in the area. That's a very well hidden carcass. We're going to spend a little bit of time here, because we want to see. I can't see the leopard, if it is even a leopard. I can't see any predator. Could just be lying down, as I said earlier, trying to catch its breath, trying to regain some energy. Or it could be a female that was hunting away from its cubs and has now gone back to collect the cubs, and then it's going to bring the cubs back here to have a look at the carcass, well, to feed on the carcass. So what we're going to do in the meantime is just loop around this tree, because it's quite thick. We can't see on the far side. So I want to loop around, just circle around the tree and see if maybe she's lying down, or he's lying down, whoever's lying down on the other side. It's incredibly well hidden. Lots of places here for any predator to hide in. So my son and I are going to look very carefully around here. But it also looked like quite a big impala. It wasn't eaten at all. It wasn't eaten at all. So it's still very big. While we have a look around here though, we're going to send you back to Djuma, up to Lauren, see what she's up to.
I'm driving the highway. I was driving into the sunset, but sadly it's disappeared behind the clouds. So technically I still am driving into the sunset, it's just not visible. Now I'm on the southern boundary, and I think it's worth just checking out our carcass that was under the bushes. Davi and I checked it out this morning, but I mean we could smell it. But we couldn't see anyone. But it's always worth just checking out in case we get any more hyena action. For those of you who were not on the sunrise safari, we had an incredible Djuma clan encounter. I've been waiting for a moment like that. I think we had most of the Djuma clan with us, all walking down the road. I love it when I see hyenas together, working together, cooperating in their clan. Now, of course, as soon as they find the food or the carcass or whatever it is they're after, they won't be so friendly with one another. A feeding frenzy will take place. Davi and I were actually talking about that this morning, how they cooperate, they assist one another. Together they hunt, together, I've got a big birdie here, I'm just going to get closer. Together they find the carcass with all their nostrils, but the minute they find that carcass, whew, it's mayhem. They start to fight, a frenzy will break out, and only really the dominant ones will get fed. Okay, bird, please don't fly away. Please be lovely to us. I think it's the Bateleur. You see the two of them. Yes, it's the male and female Bateleur. The monogamous pair, they're always here. They're always on this leadwood. It was so lovely, that one just swooped in. I have mentioned this before, but I am going to just remind everyone how you tell the difference between male and female Bateleurs. So when you look at them with their wings sort of folded down like that, you're looking at the male right now. And how do I know that? He's got that sort of grey shoulder band, and then underneath is completely black. Now if Davi just swiftly moves over to the female, you see she's got an extra grey band. Do you see that? Her wingtip is, well, really not black. She's got another band of grey, and that's the female. So I think this is the monogamous pair that we always see here. They tend to stick together. And even if you don't see them together, even if you maybe encounter the male and then you encounter the female, the other one is normally in visual range. They like to stay close to one another, even if they're taking a break. Maybe they've had a little bit of a domestic and they think, oh, I'm out of here. They still like to stay in visual range with one another. Now, the Latin name of a Bateleur is one of my favourites. It's Pterathopius equidatus. I'll never forget that. And what it really means is marvellous face but no tail. And it's true. They have such a marvellous markings on their face. You really can't mistake a Bateleur. And if you do, then you need to learn your birds a little bit better. That bright red beak that sort of fades into orange, then yellow at the end, against the black face is stunning. And yes, they have no tail. They have exceptionally long wings that curve up at the tip. You're able to see it when they're in flight. You're not able to see it when they've got their wings folded down like this, but when they're in flight, you can. There we go. Right on cue. And they have a really, really short tail. And this is all about aerodynamics. So what they're actually trying to do with the long wings and no tail, it gives them the advantage of being able to swoop in fast closer to the ground. So it gives them the ability, if they see a carcass, to get in there fast and get out. They can go really, really close to the ground, which the likes of vultures cannot do. And they can come in, grab whatever they need and fly away again. So it essentially protects them against threats from other scavengers, other aerial scavengers. It gives them an advantage. I can't see them anymore. I think they've disappeared. Pterathopius equidatus. Isn't that such a nice Latin name? Every Latin name actually has a meaning. And I can't say I know them all, but it normally describes something about that animal. For example, a hawksbill sea turtle is a Retmocheles imbricata. And what's that really referring to is Eretmocheles. Cheles means Chelonian, so it's telling you, that Latin part is telling you it's a turtle. And imbricata refers to the scales, the scutes, as they should correctly be called, that actually folds over one another on the shell. Other turtles lie next to one another, but with a hawksbill they actually fold over one another. So they're almost weaved together, and that's what imbricata refers to. Okay, this way. So every Latin name of every species refers to something about that animal. The carcass is a little bit up ahead, but I do think it is worth checking out. Got some fresh hyena tracks here. I'm going to just let Davy frame them up, and I'm going to jump out and explain them. Can you see that nice one there, Davy? Or have I parked? Let me jump out. They're everywhere. Choose one, and I shall go and point out some markings with this hyena track. Now, if you are still enjoying watching us and you feel like you're learning at least one additional thing per day, you are welcome to come and support us. We do need your support, and you can head over to www.wildearth.tv/support and support us in any way that you wish. Now, Davy, which one are you looking at? What about this one? There's a fresh hyena tracks that walks all the way along this road, and I bet they've came from the carcass. Does this one work for you, Davy? Okay, so I'm going to circle it. The ground is very, very hard here. And from a distance, when you're looking from a distance, you might think cat, leopard, lion, depending on the size. It's got that back pad here. And you can see that it has the top pads. Now, when you get a closer look, immediately you're able to tell, this is hyena. And how do I know this? You can see the claws. You see that? Right at the tip there, you can see the claws. You will not see the claws in lions or leopards unless they're hunting, fighting, or running, which is very rare to see that on the ground. So when a hyena walks, they go down and then they lift up with their claws. And you just need to take a close look and see all the way down here. You can see the claw marks. And straight away, you know, aha, it's not a cat. It's a hyena, after all. And I imagine that hyenas probably came from the carcass. They walk great distances. We see hyena tracks everywhere. That's how we tell the difference. If you look at a leopard who's just casually walking, you will not see any claw marks whatsoever. But it can throw you when you see a hyena track. You might think, oh, but as soon as you take a closer look, it's definitely not cat. So I'm going to check out this carcass and actually, well, I really hope to find some hyenas. And it seems that James is back out and about, so let's go across to him.
Yes, we are back out. Sorry, we had to rush home to camp and get a new microphone, and hopefully now it's working. We're going to go to the hyena den and see if Rybone doesn't perhaps return. It'll take us about 10 minutes, I imagine, to get down there. Around on the way. The sun has already gone down. I must say it's getting quite wintry. And so, just remember that we will be changing the times come the 20th of this month, and we'll start at 3 in the afternoon and finish at 6. There, Owen, is a forked-tailed drongo. Amazing nature. It feels wonderful to drive through the bush at sunset. It feels, I mean, especially during this turbulent time in our history, it feels to be a massive privilege to be able to drive in the wilderness through the sunset. No sound? No, I think it's your eyes. Oh. All right, let's go to Lauren and see what's going on there.
I was not snacking, I promise. I wasn't. Not at all. Sorry about that. I do not know what happened to James. It appears he has audio problems that he thought he'd fixed and he's not. So you're back with me, and I wasn't snacking, I promise. We get hungry out here sometimes. And it's got really chilly, so I've got my jacket on now. The faster you drive, the chillier it gets. Now, I don't know what James' plan is. I think he's probably going to go back to camp. But I'm going to check on his carcass, and then I want to go and check on Miss Rybone, the matriarch of the Djuma clan. And I do have a little page marked out for you. I just want to quickly show you it, and it maps out who belongs to who and who is in the Djuma clan, because I'm aware that some people are new and maybe some people have forgotten, because we don't actually get to see them that often nowadays, which is why I was very excited this morning. So once we check this area, I'll bring out the diagram and we can have a really good look at who is who in the world of hyenas. Okay, I think James would like to head to the den, and that's absolutely fine. He can do that. I can still go through who is who. I'm quite far out anyway, so it's absolutely not a problem. Okay, now this is where the carcass is stroke was. Whew. Oh, dearie me. I don't see any vultures in the trees anymore. There's hyena tracks all over the ground. The smell is, I don't even know how to describe it, everyone. Awful. Can you smell that, Javi? Sadly, it doesn't look like anyone's around. It's probably polished off. Mere bones and hooves and horns. But it's always worth checking. I think the hyenas have been very busy here, as have the vultures. One last peek in here. Nope, no signs of anyone. So let me quickly see if I can find this. Dest, you're asking, do we have trackers to help us find animals? Was that correct? I hope so, because we don't. We are the trackers. Okay, just quickly, I won't bore you, I promise. I made this lovely little diagram that's been sitting in the car quite a while now. Let me just get my pointer, and then I'll move my head up the way. Let's start with Floppy Ear. Floppy Ear was a high ranker. She's got a little star next to her, and she was the mother of Corky. Corky's got a crown next to her because Corky was the matriarch. And Corky gave birth to Plonk, who was a boy, also a matriarch. Now, we very much fell in love with, not the matriarch, sorry, I mean high ranking. We've not seen him for quite a while, I'm afraid, so we think we can assume that Plonk is possibly no longer with us. Corky is no longer the matriarch. The matriarch, everyone, is Raibon. There was a takeover not so long ago. It's relatively new, and you can see that Ribbon is 7, so she's in her prime. Now, she gave birth to 2 cubs, Intima and Lamula. And sadly, Lamula is no longer with us, but Intima is. Then, she had another litter 2 years later. 2 cubs. She lost one. We don't know the sex, and we also don't know what happened. Paddy. Paddy was a female, and we spent a lot of time with Paddy, but sadly, we don't know what happened to Paddy either. And now there's 2 new cubs. 2 gorgeous little cubbies that have just been born. So, we're not finished, Stretch-Toffee. We're almost there. I'm running through it quickly. I promise. Scarback was a hyena that was very famous in the area. Gave birth to June. And June we saw this morning. She's now got a floppy ear. She never used to, but she does now. June is the mother of Sutu and Swana, both females. Sutu we saw this morning, Swana we've not seen since November, so it's slightly worrying. Almost there, I promise. Madam was the matriarch before Corky. Madam gave birth to Pretty. Pretty and Corky were actually best friends. They had a really tight relationship, and it's not quite understood why Corky was the matriarch, Pretty was not. Pretty gave birth to Swazi and Indabelli. Both of them we see, mostly in our camp. Last one, everyone, I promise. Gwen was a hyena, no longer with us, but she was the mother of Sol, who was a boy, and he dispersed into the Elephant Plains clan, and Hart, who is very much still with us, and I believe still very high ranked. So the question remains, what is the sort of ranking now? I'm almost done, I promise. I promise. Here, it used to be Corky, matriarch, best friend Pretty, June, Intima, Heart, and Ribbon was at the bottom, everyone, right at the bottom. Now it appears Ribbon's at the top with 2 new cubs. Her older daughter Intima will definitely be second, and it appears that Heart is also high ranked at 3rd. June, Sutu, Swana and Corky, we really don't know where they fit in. Neither do we know about Swazi or Indabella. So that's my lovely little diagram that I make during the day. Do not judge me, but I thought that would make it a little bit easier for you to understand the dynamics of the Djuma clan. We still don't know where some of them, I'll go this way, where some of them fit in. The takeover was fairly recent. Ribbon's a new matriarch, and we know Ribbon and Tima and Hart are very close. They're high ranking. We can see their bonds, we can see their interactions, and we know that they're definitely dominant. We just don't know about the others. We need to see them together. Who's acting submissive to who? Who's acting more dominant over who? And then we'll be able to fill out that list and tell you all where they sit on this wonderful proverbial ladder that hyenas have. That is their hierarchy. Takeovers are unusual, and here at WildEarth we witnessed two. One here at Djuma and one in the Masai Mara with Waffles. And it's fascinating. A low-ranking individual deciding, I don't want to be a low-ranking anymore. I want to challenge that status quo. I'm going to get my girl army and... Oh, huge lion tracks. The lions went this way. Okay. They're probably not fresh, but at least we know which way the lions went. And... yes, I'm going to be high-ranking. I'm going to attack the matriarch. And that's essentially how it works. So I hope you all enjoyed that beautiful explanation with my beautiful diagrams. I think Blondie, after leaving the carcass, came this way. Okay. Now, Blondie wasn't on the carcass this morning, and he most likely left last night, I think, probably after finishing what he had before the storm. I think he left, but at least we know he went west along the southern boundary. He's probably popped back into Arathusa, I would imagine. The Nkahumas, we don't know where they are. We haven't had any update on where our lion pride are at the moment. Just have a look in case there's any tracks here. Okay, I think I'm going to pop into this road. I've made up my mind. As I head back north into Djuma, we are going to send you back across to Sean, who I believe is still tracking.
We have left that other carcass, so we didn't find any predator there. There were tracks of a leopard though, so what we expect is that the mother leopard caught it, stashed it, went back to go and collect her cubs, and is bringing them back to the carcass. So while we left those, you didn't want to hang around there. Sometimes our presence can attract other animals, especially hyenas. Now we know this is when they're getting active, it's getting dark, sun is set. So we didn't want our presence to attract hyenas to the area, find the carcass before the leopard gets back. So we left it. I'm sure Nikki will head there tomorrow morning. Hopefully the leopard does get back in time, take it up the tree, and you will see the mother and the cubs. That would be quite spectacular. So we decided to head back towards the Tambudi Tom. So the leopard that we were watching a little bit earlier, see what he's up to. I'm hoping now with the drop in temperature, the night coming, he might be a bit more active, maybe climb up the tree. But the nice thing is we can spend some time there. We got the spotlight, we can have a look, watch him climb up. So you can see the grace and the ninja-like skills that these leopards have to climb up these trees. It's just up ahead here. Now we're coming from the other angle, which is nice. So we got a question from Annabelle, who's 8 years old, and she lives in Japan. Leopards in the tree. Sorry, Annabelle, we'll get back to you now. But the leopard's in the tree. You can see him when he is actually facing straight at us. There he is. Up in the tree there, just doesn't get more leopard than that. Look at one front leg over the branch, back leg over the other side of the branch. Looking beautiful. But back to Annabelle's question, she wanted to know why your domestic cats, their young are called kittens, where these cats, their young are called cubs. Annabelle, I am going to tell you it's to do with size. You know, because we get little African wild cats, we get little other nocturnal cats, and their young are also called kittens. So I'm probably wrong, Annabelle, but I'm going to tell you it's got to do with size. You know, these cats are much bigger, and their young are called cubs. Marcel, do you know why?
I think it is due to size.
Yeah, we're both pretty sure it's due to size, Annabelle. You can see this one here, a lot bigger than your house cat. I mean, just as pause, if we go forward a little bit here, and we go a bit to the right, and Marcel gets through the gap there, you can actually, let me go a tiny bit forward. There we go. You can actually see the impala hanging down beneath the leopard.
Just like that.
So that's the rest of the impala hanging down there. It doesn't look to be too well secured. Those are the back legs of the impala. Quite splayed open. So there's actually two trees where that leopard is. There's a pale tree and a dark tree. So the pale tree that he's on is an apple leaf, and the one behind him is a jackalberry. So the impala carcass is in the jackalberry, and the leopard is in the apple leaf. But this is besides a fish eagle calling and a male lion roaring, this is Africa in a picture. Very good question, Aria. I think we drive past predators without seeing them quite often. So we work, us rangers, we work 6 weeks. So we work 6 weeks on. And I would say if we're driving twice a day for those 6 weeks every day, we probably drive past maybe let's say 4 to 6 leopards in those 6 weeks. Probably even more than that. But these are ones that are relatively close to the road. Within 30, 40 meters of the road, I would say we drive past maybe 4, 5 or 6 leopards that we just don't see. Because, they just lie down in the bush and they just disappear. Like that, poof, gone. And if there's no tracks, you're driving and you're looking, but you won't see them. I remember once I had a sighting. We were driving down the road. We saw a leopard in the tree. So we're like, oh, fantastic. We went off, we drove there. The leopard was climbing down the tree as we turned off the road. So we're like, okay, let's just see if it's relaxed or not. And we drove around and we found it close to a bush. So we sat there and we watched this leopard. We're like, chatting about it. Must have been there for about 10 minutes. And then one of my guests was like, oh, Sean, there's a leopard. And I looked at him like he was a bit silly. And I was like, of course, there's a leopard. We've been here for 10 minutes looking at the leopard. And then he's like, no, look there. And there were 2 leopards. And we sat there for 10 minutes without seeing the other leopard. And it was maybe 3 meters from the car. So we drive past these animals without seeing them quite often, I think. But if you saw that, there was a hyena. Probably smelt the carcass, come around here to investigate. Doesn't know exactly where it is. The wind has died down. So there's no scent blowing around. So 7-year-old Cullen from Johannesburg, a very well-timed question. So Cullen wants to know why the leopard takes the food up the tree. And Cullen, for exactly what we saw now, because that hyena came. So you must remember we said earlier, leopards are solitary animals. So they're by themselves. Where hyenas, they are clan animals. They live in groups. So sometimes you'll find 2, 3, 4 hyenas together. And let's say this leopard now was on the ground with his food. That hyena came, saw the food, called to its friends. 3 or 4 hyenas rocked up. They would steal the food from this leopard. They would take it from him, they would fight him, they would beat him because there's more of them. And the leopard can't risk an injury, so he would give up the food. and the hyenas would then eat it. Where now in the tree, hyenas can't climb. They can't get to his food. The leopard can sleep there, he can watch the hyenas, he'll laugh at them, and the hyenas just wait at the bottom. They can't get to the food. So the leopard, Cullen, takes his food up the tree to make it safe. Nothing else can climb like he can. You know, lions can climb trees. They don't do it very often here at andBeyond Ngala, but they do climb trees. So they potential, but this carcass is very well hidden, it's very high. I highly doubt a lion can climb here, so the food is very, very safe. You know, the only thing he would have to worry about is another male leopard, but he knows this is the middle of his territory. He's the dominant one. There are no males here big enough to challenge him. That's why he's just sleeping. He doesn't get, there could be elephants underneath, there could be hyenas underneath, there could be lions underneath, but if he's in the tree with his food, he's fine. He can sleep there the whole night, he can sleep there the whole day, he can eat when he wants. He is perfectly happy there. It's all due to that hyena. What we're going to do, drive a little bit further down the road. I want to go a little bit further down the road, see if we can get another angle of this leopard's face. So while we're moving, trying to get a good spot, we're going to send you back to James, who has found ribbon.
Here we are at Ribbon's den. Is not. Okay. It's all right. That is it. Usable. It's usable. Anyway, Ribbon not here. It's not a train smash because she was here, and we didn't expect her to be here, and we're hoping that she would come in this time. Why don't we just turn the ambient microphone up, and then I'll use that to speak. Good idea? Bad idea? Yes? No? There we go. Can you hear me now? I'll take this one off. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, good idea. Okay. So I'll just have to talk a little bit more loudly than I would normally. Ribbon is not here, but we'd expect her to come back around about this time to feed the cubs. I suspect that she will be back fairly soon, so we're going to sit here for 10 minutes and just see if she doesn't pitch up to feed the cubs. Otherwise, what a glorious afternoon. Not much else to tell you about Ribbon's den, but the clan will probably split up because Ribbon must come back and feed here. Heart looked like she was lactating, so she'll have to go back to wherever her cubs are. So their carnival, if you like, that they had today will have to come to an end, at some stage. And hopefully Ribbon will come back now. There is some very nice ambient sound which you can listen to, some robins calling. And I tell you, another sound that I'm hearing is leaves falling out of the trees as we go into autumn. Sorry, I didn't get that. Aiden from Germany, why are hyenas whatty? Oh, why is their dung white? Aiden, their dung is white because it's full of calcium, full of bones. They eat a lot of bones, and that was the hippo I heard. When it comes out, it's bright green, well, sort of a dull green actually, not bright at all. And then as it sits in the air, it goes white, and that's oxidation. So it's the oxidation of the calcium that results in that chalky white poo. Good question. I just heard a bit of a grunting and thought maybe it was a returning hyena, but it wasn't. Alright, we'll sit here for another 10 minutes or so while you go back to Lauren, who's still looking for some tracks.
Good luck with your tracks. I'm really looking for anything, to be honest. Possibly a chameleon would be a nice find. This is probably nothing, Davi. Do not get too excited. I actually can't see what that is. Is it just leaves? Oh my goodness! Cute! I don't actually know what type of birds these are. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize you were resting up there for the night. What a sweet, sweet find. I actually thought it could have been a chameleon, but no. There's two little birdies resting for the night, but we mustn't shine a spotlight on them. We must go. Oh, very sweet. I don't actually know. Is it a dove's? Doves, especially the ringneck doves, love to nest together, but I don't think that was. The doves don't have yellow around their eyes like that. I don't actually know what type of birds they are. If anyone can screenshot that and get an ID for me, please do let us know. Hashtag WildEarth or at FC on YouTube. Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, now I really am looking for a chameleon. Helmet shrike. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Two helmet shrikes cuddling up on the branch like that. Birds, most birds, not all, most birds are diurnal, which means, of course, they're daytime flyers, they're active during the day, and at night time they've got to huddle up, and summer's the perfect time for them to nestle themselves away in amongst the vegetation, the leaves, the branches, and hide from whatever challenges they may face at night. In winter, of course, that's a lot more difficult to be able to hide because most of the trees, except the evergreen trees, will not have any leaves on them. Oh, that was very sweet. So I am really hoping to get a last-minute leopard here. It's the perfect time for our spotted cats to be walking. And as I bumble forward, it seems like Sean, of course, has already got his spotted cat.
We managed to get another angle. You can see he's not actually sleeping. Got his eyes open. Just looking around. Still shaking a lot. Breathing very heavily. Because he's so full. That's why he's breathing so heavily. I'm trying to look at the carcass. It's quite hidden in the tree from this angle. But it doesn't look like there's actually too much left there. Oh, look, 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 look. Moving around a bit. Trying to get a more comfortable position. I mean, look how big his stomach is there. That is huge. He looks almost pregnant. But he's also got a very nice branch. Got like a little wallow in the branch there. Probably a bit more comfortable for him to lie on. Because I imagine with the stomach that sort of size, he is quite uncomfortable. So he's trying to find the best position to balance out where he can still sit on the tree and not squash his stomach too much. Oh, look at that. Just watch him turn. That branch is not thick. But their balance and their dexterity on the tree is incredible. We're just going to sit quietly now and watch what he does. So let me tell you what he's doing. So he's looking. Where he's looking is into the river. So remember we saw that hyena. So the hyena is actually lying behind us. Just lying down on the side of the road. It's a young hyena. Oh, watch him turn. And it's incredible how they can just turn. Oh, Almost slipped there, that would have been awkward. Looks like he's going back to the carcass. We're going to move the car forward. To here. Can you get that? Yeah. Now you can actually see him. There's the head of the impala. You can see big male, nice horns. And now you can see the carcass. Oh, that is incredible. I'm going to keep quiet. See if you can hear him trying to crunch through there. He's ripping the skin. Listen. Okay, so you can hear that. Now that noise, he's using the side of his mouth where his teeth are more like scissors, and he's trying to cut through that skin to get to the meat underneath. Now he won't eat the skin, he'll peel all of that off to try to get to the meat underneath. You can see the head there, so he's eating around the neck. Doesn't look like there's that much left on this impala. But just now, think to yourself of the balance. Firstly, how he's placed that carcass in the tree for him to be able to eat it and rip it without it falling down. So the intelligence and the instincts of these animals, these leopards, this Tambori Tom, to place the carcass in a position like that. See where he's looking now, you can't see, but there's a hyena on the ground. So that hyena most likely heard the noises that we did. Oh, the hyena's moving away now. The hyena most likely heard that same slicing noise that we did, so now he's coming to look, hoping that the leopard might drop a bit of the food down. And that's why it's so important that the leopard puts it in a place where it won't fall. Doesn't matter how he eats it. But he's put it in a place where he can stand on it and hold it with a paw and still balance himself. So Mo would like to know why or how the leopard doesn't fall out of the tree when he sleeps. So Mo, it's all just natural instincts. I mean, these leopards grew up in trees. When they're young cubs, once they are able to climb, it's very safe for them in trees. As we said earlier, nothing else can climb. So often the young ones go into the trees for safety. So they learn from a very young age how to climb, how to move around in a tree, and it's all just instinctual. They will find a thick branch, lie with legs on either side of it, tail hanging down the side, and they just know how to do it. Look at his position now. Look at his back leg on the left-hand side there, on the branch. Look, he's trying to move. Oh, I thought he was trying to move the carcass a bit. What you can see there, in between the horns, is the front legs of the impala. Looks like he's got the front legs and the head on this side, and the rest of the body on the other side. It's actually instinctually, again, it's all instinctual, Malv, how we place that carcass as well. But he is an old leopard, maybe seen as just over 8 years. He's got a lot of experience. You'll find younger leopards might not place their food as well. You might put it at a different part of the tree where it could fall out. He looks slightly uncomfortable there, with that back leg on the left-hand side of the screen, on right up there, on the same branch as the food. So he's compacted himself a lot to fit on there. I'm going to keep quiet again and listen to the noises. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it sounds like every now and then his teeth are hitting bone, Now the leopard's jaws are not strong enough to crunch the bone, not the big bones. So in the neck there'll be vertebrae, things like that, which he can't crunch. Smaller bones in the legs, things like that, he might be able to crack through. But he's trying to eat around the bones, and every now and then you can hear him, his teeth grating against the bone. So the hyena has moved to just behind the tree. So Nisha, yes they can. Nisha's wanting to know if leopards can climb baobab trees. Nisha, they can. They don't do it here because we don't really have any baobab trees for them to climb. But you go up to Tanzania. Oh, you hear that? The hyena is on it immediately. Look on the ground there. I don't know if they can. Oh. So there's a leg that fell. The hyena just grabbed it and went back behind the tree. You can see actually the leg, that light in the ground there. If you listen carefully. 2 hyenas. Keep watching now. Another hyena will come. That is exactly why this food is in the tree. You see how quick that response was. That leg had barely hit the ground, and the one hyena was there. The other one came running. I think... No, we're going to stay here. Crazy all the noises. I'm going to go a little bit forward. See if Marcel can get a better look at those hyenas. They're hiding behind this little branch. But yeah, incredible the noises. It's one of my favorite things of the bush, especially the hyenas. You got the crunching leopard above. You got the hyenas crunching and fighting below. And you can actually hear, you see the hyena looking up into the tree. Hyenas are much, much stronger jaws. They can crack through all the bones in this impala, especially those leg bones. I think that other hyena has actually finished the leg already. Watch, look up at the leopard. We're going to have a quick look at the leopard. He's standing up now. Matthew, they won't generally leave the kill. So Matthew wants to know how long a leopard will leave the kill before they eat it. They don't. They catch it. They might start eating it then and there. Or I'm just going to keep quiet and listen. I don't know if you could hear that, but the hyena was crunching on the bones. There on the ground just behind the tree. But Matthew, in Ireland, the leopards, they won't leave the food. They will try and eat it, especially if it's on the ground. They will eat it relatively quickly because they want to make it light enough to take up the tree, or they want to eat as much as they can before it gets stolen. So they generally eat their food relatively quickly. Once it's in the tree, like this leopard, I watch he's going to move it, or he might move it. Now that his food is in the tree, Matthew, he can eat it over a day or even 2 days, 3 days. Oh, look at that. Oh. Rescue now. Did you see how he picked it up with his paw, lifted it, then grabbed it with his mouth, and then repositioned it into the tree to get to a different part of it? I mean, and he did that all without falling off the tree and without dropping any part of this carcass. Leopards would never, ever, ever cease to amaze me. What they can do, the ease with which they do it. He was standing on that branch, which you look at it is not very thick. Standing on it with 3 legs, while he grabbed this carcass. Has probably got maybe 20% of its meat left, but he grabbed it with one paw, lifted it, then grabbed it with his mouth, and then moved the whole thing without dropping any of it. It's incredible stuff. It's incredible stuff. But as I was saying, Matthew, yes, now that it's in the tree, he can eat it over 2 days. Very interesting question from Owen, who is living in England. He wants to know how long until the oh, you almost dropped it there. Did you see it start to slide? It's very top heavy on the side. Owen, I'll come back to you now. But look at the head, it's got a lot of meat in it, so it almost fell off the tree. But yes, Owen from England wanting to know how long until that impala meat goes off. So Owen, almost dropped it again. It all depends on the weather. So today was overcast, it wasn't too hot. So, you know, the food is not cooking in the sun, it's not rotting very quickly. So now, if the weather stays like this, Owen, it could maybe last 3 days. If it's hot in summer, when it's 40, 45 degrees and the meat starts to almost cook in the heat, it doesn't last very long. A day and a half, 2 days at the most. But these leopards, they are picky eaters. They like to eat fresher food, but they will eat rotten food. Lions will eat rotten food. You know, you find a dead giraffe or a dead elephant, it takes them 4 or 5 days to eat. By then the food's rotten. It's got flies and maggots and poop all over it, and vultures and hyenas, everything. But these animals will eat it. Their stomach acid, digestive systems, things like that are so much better than ours. They are naturally designed to process this sort of food. And it's not just the food, Owen. Think about the water that they drink. It's been sitting in a waterhole for 8 months, stagnant, with buffaloes swimming in it, hippos defecating, pooping in it, hyenas swimming in it, elephants. It's very dirty. You drink that water, you're going to get very, very sick. But they drink it perfectly fine. It's just adaptation. They are designed and adapted to eat rotten food, drink dirty water. They can do it. Like if you ate that meat now, well, once the leopard had left, it's probably not going to be good for you. Okay, Lauren, that is quite a commonly asked question. Lauren's wanting to know if the leopards take their food up the same tree. If they always use the same or similar trees. Lauren, generally not, no. A lot of it will depend on where they catch their food. You know, let's say the leopard catches his food here, but his favorite tree is 300 meters away. He's not going to drag the food there. Dragging the food is it's dangerous. You know, you're leaving a scent trail of blood and maybe intestines, whatever it may be, for 300 meters. 300 meters is a long way to drag food. It could be hyenas, it could be lions, it could be other leopards. So what you want to do is you want to get it into a safe place as quickly as you can. So the closest tree. Sometimes it's not even a tree, sometimes it's just a bush, and they take it into a bush. As long as it's off the ground and it's safe. So they don't have a favorite tree that he will always take his food to. Lauren, he'll just take it to the closest available tree and have it safe there. There are some occasions where leopards will relax and lie down, sleep sort of thing in specific trees. Like we have one leopard called the Nyala female, and there's always one Nyala tree that's an neighborhood tree as well. that we always look at. It's in the middle of her territory. She's in there quite a lot, so we'll go back to that tree. But she will put her food in any tree. But she just likes that one when she's relaxing. So Lauren, food-wise, the closest tree available, they'll take their food up. Look at that leg hanging down by the face. It's just hanging on by like a small tether of skin. Now that leg, the leopard's not going to eat. Can't get that much from it. You see, it's very, very skinny, mainly bone. So that leg falls, hyena can eat it, but the leopard can't. Now we've got a question from Barry. Barry's asking, if that impala did fall out of the tree now, would the leopard try and run down and fight the hyenas for the food? Barry, no. No, as I said, there's only about 20, at the most 25% of the meat left on that impala. If you look at the leopard, you can see his stomach there. He's very, very full. He's eaten a lot of food from this carcass. So if it falls out the tree, he is just going to leave it. There's 3 hyenas at the bottom of the tree now. And for him, it's not worth it. He's got his meal. He's probably fine now. He doesn't need to eat for at least 2 days. So it's just not worth the conflict. It's not worth the potential injury that he might get, Barry. So he'll let it fall. The hyenas will eat it up in a few minutes. They will eat it up, finish it. Watch, he might drop something from his mouth now. Sounded like he had a bone there. But no, Barry, if it falls, the hyenas will finish it in 5 minutes. The leopard will probably just lie down in the tree and wait. Maybe, he's a big male, maybe he'll climb down and just walk away. But he won't fight the hyenas for it. It's not worth it. Everything out here is risk versus reward. If I do this, if I use this much energy, is it worth it? That ties in Lutando with what I said. So Lutando wants to know how long the leopard can go without eating. So I said to you now, Lutando, that this male, he's full. He will go 2 days, maybe even 3 days before he starts hunting again. And earlier we were talking about their success rate and how long it takes them to actually catch something. So sometimes these leopards, if they're having a bad hunting time, sometimes they will go 5, 6 days without eating. They're still healthy, they look quite skinny, but they will survive. I'd say at most these leopards can go even close on 10 days, 2 weeks without eating. They start to suffer after that sort of length of time though. You can see their ribs, their spine, their back legs become very, very skinny. So they need to eat very soon after that. But, in a desperate, dire situation, they can go 10, 12, 14 days without eating. Generally they will eat every 5 or 6 days. But I think we've had a fantastic time here. And we're going to stay here and keep watching this fantastic time. But we don't want to spend too much time here. So we can see he's licking the rest, trying to get some of the meat off the ribs there. There's not much left. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually just lies down soon or even gets out the tree and just leaves the impala there. But I think he's given us a fantastic show with the hyenas at the base of the tree as well. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to leave him, let him eat in peace. He's already got to deal with the hyenas. And in the meantime, we'll send you across to Lauren.
We are still bumbling in the dark here, looking for any sign of life. We had the cutest little froggy on a branch, but sadly he jumped off. So now we're just looking for any other signs of life while all the insects fly into me. It's a leaf. It's either a leaf or an animal. Sharad, you're in the UK and you're asking how much distance do we cover in a day? Would love to know the answer to that question. I really would, but sadly none of our gauges on the cars work. The petrol one works. I imagine a lot. We drive and we drive and we drive. Of course, if we have a static sighting, then we're static. But other than that, we cover a lot of ground racing around, and then sometimes you'll get an update that something's happening in the north and you're in the south, so you have to race there. So it's really not that big a reserve. It's around 1,200 hectares. And we can also traverse Chitwa, which is about 600 hectares, I think. But of course, we're not traversing there right now due to lockdown rules. But it's not a large area. But of course, there's lots of roads you can wind around and shortcuts and game paths. And I imagine we cover great distances. But sadly, I can't answer how much distance we cover. I would really love to know myself, though. We used to do bushwalks too, and I imagine that will come back soon once all the lockdown is over, where we actually go out live on foot. We have a game scout with us and we walk the reserve, and it gives you a completely different perspective, completely different angle. You're able to get close to all the small things, the insects, to the vegetation, the trees. It gives a different perspective from always being on the vehicle. I have to say I missed the bushwalks. I was really enjoying getting into all the insects. But hopefully once the world returns to normal, our bushwalks will return. Benjamin, you're 6 years old and you're in Canada, and you're asking, have I ever seen a honey-guide bird? Yeah. No, I haven't, I'm afraid. And have I ever seen a honey badger? Yes, I have. We do get honey badgers here, and they are incredible. I got asked what was the strangest looking animal earlier by Emily, and it threw me. I don't really know. I guess all animals are strange, technically. But I forgot about the honey badger. That's a bizarre looking animal. Nothing like the badgers we get in Europe, and they're very fierce out here. We've heard and witnessed lots of stories of honey badgers standing up to predators, lions, leopards. They're ferocious. So yes, we do get honey badgers here. The last time I saw one was actually with James, and I think Davy, you were there too. And it was a family. It was a mother honey badger and the offspring. It was very cute. But I think because it's summer right now and the bush is just so thick, it's difficult to find anything, never mind a honey badger. But hopefully once winter comes, we'll be able to find honey badgers just for you, Benjamin. Oh no, don't run away, Scrubby. Don't run away. And off he goes. Off the scrub here runs. Let me just check for chameleons. They love trees like this. This combretum here with the big leaves is a perfect chameleon tree. Negative. Ewald, you're asking about conservation programs. Well, this is a game reserve, so there's lots of rules and regulations, of course. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by conservation programs. We adhere to all the rules of the Sabi Sands, and as many of you know, we do have rhino here, but we have a strict policy that we cannot show them. Why? Because we have an anti-poaching unit out here that work very, very, very hard, incredibly hard to, of course, protect our small population of rhino. And it's just not advised that we actually show them, which could potentially give away their location. So the anti-poachers work very hard out here. It's a very closed unit, the Sabi Sands. It's difficult to get in and difficult to get out of it. And we actually we log all our data. Hello, Impala. We're going to say hello to them. Okay, but we do need to go into infrared to be able to see them. Davi is ready. So yes, we actually upload all of our sighting data of the Impala's predators. Yes, Impala, we're talking about your predators. Leopards, lions, wild dog, cheetah, to an organization called Panthera. You can actually go to their website, www.panthera.org. It's an incredible tool. It's got lots of information, lots of scientific studies, and we upload all of our sightings, and they send quarterly reports throughout the year. And it provides a lot of valuable information about where the predators are moving. So we do participate in that program. But other than that, it's very, very strict rules out here, and we must adhere to all the rules laid down by the Sabi Sands. Oh, and Pala, young boy here getting ready for the night. You can see that reflective layer. So just because impalas are diurnal, and of course are not very active at night time, doesn't mean that... Oh, look at this older boy getting a bit boisterous. Doesn't mean that they can't see at night time. They can. Maybe not as well as the predators, but they have got good vision at night time. Okay, I'm on quarantine now, which is the perfect place to be as the sun has set and it's nice and dark. I'm going to look for some predators, and we're going to send you guys back across to Sean, making his way into a sighting.
So we left the leopard. As we were leaving, he moved the carcass sort of back into the tree. So he repositioned it. So it looked a lot more secure, which is good. But we also got a report from the tented camp, which is where I work, where me and my son are based at the moment, of 2 male lions just outside, quite close to the swimming pool of the lodge. I believe it to be the Ross males. So what we're doing is we're trying to see if we can get there in time. So we're driving quite quickly, but they're a little bit further down the river. And that's the amazing thing, now that the lodges are so quiet, we're getting a bit more animal activity. Now, we do generally get the lions around. We do get the lions around the camp, even with guests, when guests are here. But, you know, now that it's quieter, I think animals are coming in. We're seeing a few more bushbuck. Baboons haven't been too much of a problem, luckily. But these are the first lions that have been close to the camp in the last sort of 2 weeks. So hopefully we can get a look at them. Now, if you remember, 3 days ago, 3 and 4 days ago, we had the lions in the river, the whole pride, after they had that buffalo. So we just passed that area where they were lying down in the river. So we're not far. And I think now we're going to start looking for the lions. Go, go, go! Shoot me off on the right-hand side. Or they could have moved in the last 7 minutes. But let us see, guys. Let us see. Everyone, cross your fingers. Maybe give me like another 2 minutes. Maybe another 2. Okay, guys, I've got us an extra 2 minutes of showtime. So let's have a look. It will be really awkward if these lions have gone. It will be really awkward. So just off to the right here, you can see the lights. So those lights there on the right is the andBeyond Ngala tented camp. Right here on the banks of the Djuma. There, look, there's a lion. Yes, there's another lion. There's 2 lions, guys. We found them. So myself's going to move the camera now. I'm going to put that light on quickly. There, let me reverse a little bit. Let me reverse a bit. How's that? There you can see, so these are the Ross males. That's the one. The other one's a little bit further down the bank on the left-hand side. And very, very close to the camp. I can see where I have dinner from where we're sitting now. These guys are very, very close. I'm going to go a little bit forward because it looks like the other one has got his head up a bit more. And obviously he puts it down as we come here. Obviously. But yes, these are the Ross males. So where we were looking for the pride this morning is not far from here. Maybe 2 kilometers from here. So they weren't with them. As you can see, this is where they are. There's one lying down there. And they will most likely just be patrolling, calling. They've already eaten that buffalo. They ate that wildebeest. And now they're just doing their thing, patrolling around. Which is fantastic for that young one. But fantastic day. Fantastic little ending, you know. To see the leopard cubs this morning. Lauren found them again this afternoon. We saw the big male leopard here. The other carcass, which we're very interested to see what happens tomorrow. To see what happens tomorrow at their carcass with Nikki. So definitely tune in. But otherwise, you know, from all of us here at andBeyond Ngala and from Djuma, thank you very much for a wonderful day and a fantastic evening. But like these lions going to bed, I think it's our time as well. So thank you all very much. And we'll see you again tomorrow.